Welcome to the Craft Service Table and Picture Wrap podcast. Howard is out today, so I am your honorary host, Jake Elder. With me today is script supervisor, director of 2022's short film Winger. He's the jack of all trades, full-time freelancer at Mythical, and of course, the brain and host of Craft Service Table and Picture Wrap. My very good friend, and just recently, he just released his first full album, The Old Man and the Cat. It's Howard Huang.
Hell yeah, that was a load of an intro.
I had to go there. Bro. I feel like you did so well on mine with giving me stuff that I was like, oh shit, dude, all right. Are we allowed to cuss in this one too?
Yes, go off, King.
Great, thank you, King.
Do you want a job here? Do you want to be a writer on the
over here?
Yeah.
If there's pay, or if you can't pay me, at least give me some food. I think that's perfect.
I'll cook you something.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Parvati's been telling me you've been working on trying to learn some recipes for her and stuff like that. So that's pretty good.
Always
that's
learning
pretty cool.
recipe. Yeah.
Yeah. Look. Since I'm the host for today, I just wanted to workshop some new titles. Maybe if that, if it doesn't work out for you for whatever reason, maybe I could just take over. So this first one I got is just Howard v. Jake, Dawn of Music.
Dawn of Music. What are we doing exactly? Are we fighting?
I don't know. I mean, that's the idea. Like, we have to workshop. Like, it's like we have to just build off of it. We'll see where it kind of goes.
Okay.
This one I kind of have to do like Rhett and Link. So you know how like they do like the it's time for... Right, so it's kind of like it's time for the Craft Service Table. The Craft Service Table Elder Edition, that sort of thing.
Elder Edition,
right? So now it's not your show, it's mine now. Or Back to the Music 2, the Howard, the Jake, and the Composer. Which you're both Howard and the Composer. I don't know.
Then where does the Jake fit in there?
Well, because I'd be the host.
I see.
Yeah.
So you're basically taking over my show.
Essentially, yeah.
I think we're done here. I think
Cut.
we can end this episode right here. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, man. Hey, it was a pleasure. No, we're here to talk about your recent album that just dropped this year, The Old Man and the Cat. This is one of your first fully released albums that's like a compilation of things that you've personally wrote. You've done music for short films, right? But now this is something that is like personal to you, and like you're able to like craft music that is accompaniment to yourself. Is there any difference between writing something for someone else versus something for yourself?
Oh yeah, big difference. I think one of the biggest challenge when I first started this project specifically was that there is no real tangible inspiration per se. I think what's so easy, at least for me, or at least another word is intuitive for scoring movies, is that the inspiration is on the screen.
Sure.
And a composer look at a movie and then they kind of attach to project themselves onto the story and the character, and that part of it makes it a lot easier for me, at least, to come up with an idea. Would come up with several ideas.
Sure.
But working with nothing.
Yeah, no script, no character development.
Right. No notes from director. No one to really guide me of, okay, this is where the direction you want to go. And it's kind of like, a writer staring at a blank page. That was definitely a big challenge for me. But I try to stick with the things that I want to say instrumentally, and then I just kind of went off from there.
Yeah, and you just got into it. I kind of listed off at the start of the show with the other extracurricular things that you're kind of a part of, and what I didn't include was music composing, right? Other than the album itself. Do you have any actual relationship with music, or what is that relationship with music for you?
Current relationship, or
current
just
relationship, or just writing music, composing, and then sending it off, essentially.
I always had, I guess, fascination with music since I was in high school, and it kind of developed from there. I think I started, I don't know if you know this actually, I started doing, when I first started music, it was EDM.
Huh?
Yes, it was awful EDM.
Okay.
Yes, it was like I was in high school. Okay. And then I was really into, listening to EDM at the time.
No way.
Yeah. And then one day I was thinking, and then I was like,
that's electric stuff, right?
Yes.
Damn,
like dance music, dubstep. I was really into dubstep.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one day I just thought that, hey, you know what? It would be really cool to be able to say.
Yeah.
Is to say that, hey guys, I have a new song out.
That's crazy.
And then and then I started looking into it, and then things are expensive, so I had my ways of like getting things and writing things on top of that, using like those very shitty like default sound that you get from just very
whatever.
Yeah, like, just whatever.
Like, use this bass line or something.
Yeah, basically, and you don't really design sounds yourself because I don't know what the fuck is happening. I was just literally like twisting knobs just to see what it does.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it was awful. I made a lot of songs that are really bad when I was back in like high school.
Can I find that music? Is it anywhere?
Not anymore, but if you
YouTube
want,
or Spotify,
it's not on anymore.
Account?
Nope.
Dang, man.
It used to be on, and I took everything down.
Yeah, so then I guess I have to take back that this is your first released album, or
it is the first album.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was like
you just
releasing
did songs.
Yes, I did songs.
That's crazy.
And it just kind of developed from there. Right. I got into filmmaking when I was a little older. I think in 2018, something like that. Yeah. And once I got into film, I started listening to film scores. Mm-hmm. And then that's when it kind of like opened my mind to this whole world of orchestral music and how beautiful it sounds.
Yeah.
And, and at first I was, couldn't find my own voice. I think I was learning a lot. I was trying very hard to sound like Hans Zimmer. Yeah. And I think...
I mean, EDM, though, is not too far off of how Hans Zimmer started.
Yeah,
already. Like,
I get that.
He was in a band.
Right, he was in a band, yeah.
So I think you kind of have the same trajectory, but as you're saying.
Yeah, so, I was, a lot of the times I was just trying to sound like him, and then eventually I started to develop my own taste when it comes to this kind of music. And this, I would say The Old Man and the Cat is that like my first ever attempt at showing myself and everyone else that this is kind of my voice and my take to this kind of music. Yeah.
That is really cool, man.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, one, I didn't know that you started out with EDM. That is hilarious.
Neither do I.
That's hilarious and awesome.
Yeah. It was horrible.
The last thing I think I would expect, like it just, but also it makes sense because some people like do rapping and stuff, and it depends on how that goes. But you know what? You have to start somewhere, so that's cool. And in our first podcast, with you and me in it, you had actually said that you had always been interested in films. This is quote.
Oh, okay.
Had always been interested in films, but never gained an interest in film composing until way later.
Yes.
So that was like your Hans Zimmer moment. Did you have a specific aha moment where you're like, oh, EDM is not the way? Like doing this in high school is not it. Mm-hmm. It's film composing.
That's a great question. Damn, you did your homework. Damn, I didn't re-listen to our episode.
I go deep, man, but not in that way.
Yeah.
But also, anyways, you know what? I'm not gonna go down that joke. Go on.
My aha moment when it comes to film scoring, man. Oh man, I don't think I had like one moment. I think it was I've heard of people listening to soundtrack, and I tried it when I was younger, and I didn't really find any flavors out of it, and I couldn't quite get into it. And then I got into film, and then when you got into film, I'm sure you understand too, you want to know all aspect of the film. Yes. And then that was the time when like A Ghost Story, it's not here, but A Ghost Story came out, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And Blade Runner 2049 came out. That's when like all of these movies were coming out at the time that I was getting into film, and all of them sound so interesting to me. Dunkirk sounded interesting to me. I know you would disagree with that, but it sounded interesting, sure. And then one day I was like, okay, let's give it a try and just put it on. And then like I found myself completely captivated by listening to it, being able to listen to an album with no words and just instruments, and be able to tell a story through through that. It's kind of like leading onto you on a journey. And I think that's when I realized that that's cool. And when I think something is cool, I try to like how do I, if I want to learn, how do I do it? You know, I want to do it myself.
Right.
EDM and I were never meant to be. It was awful. I was making a lot of like, I was trying to do dubstep, and I was trying to make like glitch hop, which is a little slower than dubstep. Man, those sound awful.
That's crazy. This is the moment in the podcast where we cut to the song. I did my research and I actually found it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
That would have been awesome.
You scare me.
Go ahead and play it, Howard, who's also editing this. As a request, I want you to just put like 10 seconds worth of the song.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll pick a better one.
No, just do some of the old stuff.
Sure.
Let me start with like my kind of introduction with music was like from a very young age, right? And I kind of had that same like aha moment. For me, it was we kind of talk about it, and we don't have to beat a dead horse here, but it was like Jurassic Park and watching the bonus features and learning about the director and their sound design and all these things. So I wanted to learn more, and then kind of realizing that a lot of the commonalities between those are like John Williams, right, and the music and the score,
right. Great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick. Yeah.
Thank you. But I could say that like I was a kid, you know, when that happened. Whereas you're talking about 2017, you know, like you're fully fledged. Growing up, what was sort of the thing that like you don't think clicked for you for you know, soundtrack or orchestral score?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I never thought a bit about it. I think a lot of it is maybe culturally influenced because I didn't grow up in America.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in China. I was raised in China, but I was also going back to Taiwan a lot throughout my childhood. So I kind of have, you know, both culture.
Interesting.
I grew up in both culture. And I think in those culture, growing up, especially in school, they don't really encourage kids to pursue things that are not quote unquote like you can't get money out of it, like
sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's the word. So like, you know, it's frowned upon almost if you want to if you like art or if you like movies or these like very
interesting.
It's just like all they care is if you pass the test or not, or if you have a good grade, or are you a good student, or it's like so I feel like I was looking back, if I was an artist before, it was definitely oppressed back then.
Yeah.
And when I came to America, I had the freedom to like express myself.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and you know, gain access to a lot of things too, because in China they ban a lot of shit.
A lot of censorship.
So
yeah. That's interesting, man. I didn't even really, you know, make that connection myself, but I was genuinely curious. Like it's, you know, there is no set time of when you're supposed to discover a hobby or an interest or something, but I do find it really interesting that, like, you know, where you started off, like you said, like it was almost like you were being, like that artistic, creative side of you was being suppressed. Yeah. You know, and coming here to America allowed you to freely and openly kind of explore that. Yeah. You know, and get into it, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, which to say, like, going back to like finding art, and I think it was actually 2018. I was coming out of military at the time. Yes.
I forgot about that too.
Exactly, yeah. So I was in America. I was in community college for the first semester or so. Yeah. And I went back to Taiwan for a year for the military service. And it changed who I am a lot. That whole experience, that whole year of 2017 really shifted my worldview and who I am as a person. Wow. And coming out of the military, I found myself not knowing where to go after that. Like, I feel very aimless in my life. I didn't know where I fit in with people in society, and I was quite sad and quite depressed at the time. Sure. And that's when I found, you know, music, and that's when I found art, and that's when I realized that these things have power because they affected me. Yeah. And that kind of like reignite that kind of artist in me to do that to other people, to inspire other people too.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for this next bit, I really just wanted to talk about the CD itself. So you actually released a physical copy. Tell me a little bit about that process for you.
Oh, it was kind of a long process.
Sure.
I was trying to find an artist on Fiverr to design my cover, and that took a while because it's kind of hard to find, surprisingly, people who would listen to your ideas and then communicate effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
And at one point I was going on Instagram and trying to find any artist that's posting their art that take commissions, emailing them. None of them responded to me. But luckily enough, I found someone on Fiverr. They live in Indonesia or something like that.
Sure.
And then, they were the only one of the few people who actually like responded to me in a timely manner every time.
Yeah.
And then, I decided to go with them, and then got the cover, sent it off to a third party to print a batch of CDs.
Right.
Have it shrink wrapped and everything. And then it came in the mail, and it was I was so excited for like,
dude, it
to
looks
hold
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, and then I opened it up. Parvati was there, but like I was just like staring at the CD, like I was holding it in my hand, and like
Did you get emotional?
I suppose so.
Sure.
I think it's just it's more so like I can't believe it's in my hand right now.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I've been staring at this music or this art for a year and a half now, and now it's like in my hand, and like I almost couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And that was a very surreal moment for me, and I'm glad I did it. I think there's something very special about holding something in your hand,
Yeah.
wrapping it and giving to people. They look at it and then unwrap it.
Sure.
And then, opening up the CD, and you get so much new stuff in it that you don't get on Spotify or digitally. You get new art. You get to see what a disc look like. You get the booklet.
Right.
I think it's more of a full experience when you have that, and you get to keep it in your shelf.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking on that too, it's like there's a pamphlet as well that you can pull out.
Yeah.
And you wrote little things inside of it that kind of give background, which is helpful for me as the host.
Right.
Because then it helps guide me with questions, because
Right,
other
right.
than that, I would be lost. But hey,
You can't just Google, what did he meant by this?
right.
Yeah.
All I have is a song title and the score
And the
itself.
score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was a really cool way to kind of just introduce the music and kind of give background to it. I think when you first shared the album with me, it was at Mythical. It was during lunch.
I gave
You
the
gave me
CD
physical
to you.
copy. Yeah.
I think you're one of the first one who got the physical copy.
Yeah.
I think you're the second one, actually.
I think the second.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you gave it to Parvati first.
Because
Yeah.
we unboxed the thing together.
Yeah. And going back to kind of what we just talked about, there was something just very cool. I know that's not a beautiful, colorful word, but like there was genuinely just something very cool about having a physical thing, a physical copy of something that my friend worked on, that you worked on. And then the frustrating thing in that moment for me was like, well, damn, I don't have like a CD player.
That's what everyone was like. Sam Binnis, he was like, oh, I got a new car and I don't have a CD player. I'm like, oh yeah, boo-hoo, my new car doesn't have a CD player. But it's definitely very funny that, it's kind of like out of style. People don't necessarily own CDs anymore.
But I really think there's something to it that's just going to help let it stay. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like you were talking about, like physical media, like when people drop things on Spotify, that's so easy. And that's not to say that like it's bad or good, but it's just kind of like it's there, it's accessible to everyone. Great. Right. But then what more is there from there?
How
right?
it doesn't hold as much weight, I think.
Oh, 100%.
There's too much online.
Yeah. You're currently at my place, your CD sits on my
that's so cool.
on my shelf. One, to remind me that I need to write questions, and then two, just like it's cool. Like that's not something that's like something I got from Barnes and Noble or from Amoeba, the record store, whatever, right? Like it's something that my friend gave me that's personal to him, and that's really cool. It'll probably pretty soon join my collection of other CDs. But the fact that there's something physical to it, and then that like when people look at, so I have a bookcase, you've seen my book, my bookshelf of my movies and my music and stuff. The reason why I keep physical copies is because I want people to look at it and ask me about it.
Yeah.
You like your CD is one of those things where it's like I get to brag about my friend, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That warms my heart, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. And I'm sure that's the same for everyone else.
It's for me, like shit. Like there's a display right here with, in our podcast room. It's just kind of sitting there. It's like a display of the CD and the disc face, and it's just so fucking cool. Like,
yeah, cool. We can describe it to the people who are listening, because I don't think because they're, unless you're gonna start selling it. No, I'm not. I don't think they're really gonna see the album.
If you want to buy it, we can talk. DM me, but I'm not gonna sell it per se.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, tell me a little bit about the front cover, and you also have a cover on the CD disc itself. Right. Tell me a little bit about that.
So there's a kind of display frame thing in our podcast room. And right now sitting on there is the jewel case with the CD, and then next to it is the disc itself. I got the frame on Amazon. I just wanted something to like really frame it up. Yeah. The cover is I'm sure everyone has seen it already. It's on Spotify. It's the old man and the cat, and they're looking at a koi fish, which we'll probably talk about it later, and the disc face, which you probably don't see if you don't have a CD. It's all blue. It's like a shot about above the water, and there's a cat with a space helmet swimming with a koi fish around the hole, the center of the disc. I have all these ideas, but I didn't have the ability to, I'm not a graphic designer. So
I don't know if you heard, but there's AI intelligence now, and you could.
Yeah. I did try to use AI to like as a reference.
Oh, sure.
Like, this is kind of the framing, give it off to someone. Yeah, but I ended up just using Photoshop and use some real shitty PNG and just like, okay, this is where I want the cat to be.
That's cool, dude. Yeah. But it's a really good album. It's a very beautiful cover. The inside of the pamphlet is very beautiful. I like looking at it. The Sydney 2 one is really cool.
That one blew me away.
Yeah, it's very nice. When you were kind of planning out the album itself, was there a specific order you had in mind? Or did it all or is the order just kind of like the time you finished it? So if the first one was your first song, was it because it was finished first, or is there a story or something you're trying to elicit by having the order that you created?
Yeah. There's definitely a structure to it when you listen to it front to back. But when it comes to the order of things, I definitely, that came a lot later. Before I started the project, I listed out every single theme and everything that I want to say. Nice. And how, okay, I'm going to tackle this theme in this song. So it's just kind of like whatever came to me at the time, I'll write that song first. And then once I gather all the songs, I start to kind of coordinate which is this first one, what comes after what. Like the last song, Disappear, I wrote that first. That was the first song I wrote.
Yeah.
But
so it's last on the album.
Exactly. So it's there's definitely a thematic order that you're supposed to listen to this album to. But yeah, I didn't write it in a chronological order.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean that makes sense, because like when I was listening to it, like there's definitely kind of like this, like whether intentional or not, it almost felt like a progression of your own life in a way. Yeah. Right. You started off with your grandpa, right, and then the cat that you used to own. And then you kind of took us on this journey, right, with it, and suddenly, you had like with Snowglobe, it felt like an intermission or something like that, right, like a break, and then you had a part 2, so definitely I kind of felt and picked up on like there's something here you're trying to do, which I thought was really cool. Whether that was where I was like, was there intent by that, and because I have questions on themes for you later, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that at the end. I feel like that's an end kind of question.
This is great, by the way. Like, this is the first time I'm being a guest on the podcast, and it feels great to like not do anything. It feels great,
And then this is the first time for me as a host, and I'm scared shitless, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun. Doing the research was really cool. And listening to the album was really cool.
Glad to be here with you, man. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course, man. What were some of the challenges that you faced when, like, not making the physical album? Let's actually talk about the songs themselves. Did you come across any challenges in writing and getting that together?
I think each song definitely had their own challenge.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest goal or things that I want to achieve and accomplish in this album is that I want to learn things and I want to try things that I never tried before in every single song.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get that a little bit more into detail, but yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is just like learning about orchestral music. And before this, I didn't quite use a full orchestra before. It was always some sort of a hybrid. You know, you've heard Twin Aces, you've heard Fault, and you've heard some of the things that I did beforehand, and none of them are full orchestra. And this time, a lot of the songs are full orchestra, and is that process of me learning about these instruments and how they sound like, and how do you use them.
Yeah.
In a way that makes it sound a certain way. Or for a song like C341, like it's a little bit more jazzy, took me so long to get that song the way that it ended up being because I just didn't understand jazz. I still don't. It's just too difficult.
Yeah.
And I think throughout the album, that was the biggest challenge, is definitely doing things that I'm scared of, doing things that I don't know how to do, and like learning about them and then practicing it. Yeah.
Sure. So when you're talking about like full orchestra, what do you mean by that? Like, are you saying that like you're adding, like you're layering instruments, or there's instruments that you typically didn't use in past pieces for short films? Like, what, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think it's full orchestra, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's everything in a classical European orchestra that you see. You got the string section, you get the woodwind section, you get the brass, you get the percussion, the harps, the piano, the choir in the back, and all of these things, and utilizing them in a way that is cohesive.
Gotcha.
That's, at least when I think about full orchestra, that's when I think about. What I used to do and how it is different than full orchestra is that I never stay within the boundary of full orchestra. Even like before, like if you listen to Twin Aces or Fault, there's always some sort of hybrid. There's always some sort of like mix between electronics and maybe one or two orchestral instruments. Like I'll use string and brass, and then I'll mix with a bunch of like electronics. But I never use just instrumental, just like real instruments to work with. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think definitely like you're talking about how like you try to kind of emulate Hans Zimmer a little bit, you know, and like I think stepping out from like for me, I think Hans Zimmer is much of like the electronic hybrid kind of guy, you know, like
he is,
yeah. Whereas I would associate John Williams as more orchestral driven,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see and hear that you're like, my goal for this is to kind of step out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And like kind of jumping ahead, like the jazz album blew me away because I didn't know what to expect. I was like, you said, oh, it's like orchestral. I was like, okay, cool. More supportive, right? But like, yeah, cool, man. Like, yeah, I can't
more
wait to
supportive.
hear.
Yeah. Oh, you have an album
cool,
out?
yeah.
Oh, boo hoo.
No, but like, okay, like awesome. Like, what does that entail necessarily? And definitely like each song kind of had a different sound.
Yes.
Was there something that you didn't expect coming out from you when writing the album? Something that kind of just surprised you? Like jazz. Yeah, like the jazz thing might be an example, but
that might be an example,
else.
yeah. I didn't go in thinking about making a jazz song. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it was kind of in the middle of writing the album. I realized that, you know what, let's give it a try. I was listening to blues a little bit. I was listening to there's this album called The Clown by Charles Mingus. It's a jazz album, and it has one of my favorite jazz songs called Haitian Fight Song. Shout out. Okay. I play that song all the time.
Listen to that when I go home.
And then I went to jazz club too in downtown LA to listen to jazz and visualize, to see them play, to help me better understand how it actually worked. And it definitely helped, songs like California by Leah, that song took so many turns throughout its production. It's crazy. Yeah, we never expected it to end up being the way that it did. I think it's all for the best. I think it's great that it's unpredictable. Stage 2 separation is also another thing that's like, okay, let's see how far I can go with this one. Yeah,
I like that. From start to finish, how long did it take you to complete the album?
I think around a year and a half.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah. I think it was like 2023. Yeah. 2023 New Year. I was in NorCal with my sister.
Yeah.
And then we were just hanging out. We decided to write our New Year resolution together and share it with each other. And one of the things that I wrote in 2000 when we got to 2023 is make a complete album with at least 8 songs in it.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, and then finish it by the end of the year. Obviously, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I was constantly working.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say constantly. I was working on it consistently throughout the year and a half, but not constantly.
Yeah.
Like it's always in the back of my head. I'm always like in progress of making a song. Right. And whenever I do have the time or lightning strikes, I have an inspiration, I'll work on it for a couple of days and then I'll put it away for a week or two, and then another inspiration might come and I'll write like another 4 bars or whatever, you know? Yeah.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. When you were kind of like coming up with songs and you found that like you were complete on one, did you ever kind of like move on to the next song, but want to revisit something because you wanted to add something else?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Or change it, really?
All the time. I was never completed with all of the songs until like a month before release.
Oh yeah. Man.
I basically
little tweaks here and there,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I basically wrote 95% of every song and then I shelf it. I write 95%, I think it's almost there, and I put it away. I work on the next song.
Right.
Another 95%, throw it away, work on another song, and then at the end when I feel like okay, I got something, I feel like this album is coming together, I go back, re-listen to it, make changes, remix it.
Yeah. Make
small tweaks here and there. So every song got a lot of revisions.
That's really
throughout
cool.
The months for sure.
It reminds me of John Williams when in the documentary that they just released, where he was talking about like his process.
Yeah.
Where it's basically what you were talking about, where he would just sit down and force himself to write something. And so that way, the next day when he came back, it was like something new, and he would pretend that it wasn't his song, so that he can go and like make changes with it. So it's kind of cool to see that like that's kind of like your process, you know. Like obviously that wasn't, you weren't like, oh, I'm gonna do what John Williams does. Like you're an artist, you're creative, and like this was your process, which is really cool.
And I would back it up on Google Drive, and then I will listen to it every once in a while when I'm driving to work or something, and then
cool.
I'll write down notes. So it's like, okay, this thing sounded.
While you're in the car, Howard.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I do mental notes and when I can, I write it down on my phone, like
gotcha.
A time code on this song. This instrument sound too loud here or whatever. And,
that's cool.
And I'll change it.
Yeah. Did you ever share it with anyone for advice? It was always just kind of just within your bubble.
Yeah, I'm pretty. It's, I guess, self-taught. I guess that's for lack of a better term. When it comes to music, no one ever really taught me about anything musically.
Which is crazy to me. Which is crazy.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah. It's a good thing. Yeah.
I just learned so much by doing, by practicing, by figuring out what these instruments sound like, watching other people compose on YouTube, and and watch videos that break down instruments, read things. And
I mean, the one thing that you just brought up was like you had no like musical background.
No.
Like at all?
At
like
all.
Piano, violin, saxophone, whatever,
I always say I have 6 months of piano when I was in elementary school.
Okay.
But I used to be able to read sheet music when I was learning piano, but that was in 4th grade, 5th grade. I don't remember ass from it, and that was the only true like musical background that I had. That's 6 months of piano lessons in elementary school.
That's crazy.
Yeah. People ask me, do you know how to play like instruments? I always say not really, because I can play songs on piano. I can play a couple songs, but I don't truly understand how it works as well as a professional, let's say.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you were kind of like working out this song, did you kind of start in piano first and try to get a melody and like the idea and go into instrumentation from there? Or did you start with, I'm going to start with a specific instrument? Like, what was that process for building the song?
Every song is different. That's a good question. Every song is it's very different. It spans. It spans from like, okay, I want to make a song with solo cello. If I have that idea, I'll make it, and then I made it. Or I want to make a song that is hybrid, or I want to make a song that is fully electronic.
Right.
And another way is, like, as you said, that I play something on the piano, kind of like a lot of like John Williams does. He's like, he works with the piano and then he writes the orchestra through that. That's also one of my process. And the other process is kind of dumb, but it's like, what's so helpful to me is that I'll just hum a melody.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
That's one of my main process when it comes to like getting a melody down. Is there's this one time I was driving on the highway, and then I was just humming. I was just trying to think of a melody that would stick, and then I started humming it, and it was so good that I had to get it down. I pulled over, and then I recorded using the voice memo thing. Yeah. And then that song became the first song of the album.
That's cool. Yeah. 100%, man. Like, I can't tell. I was thinking about that on my drive over, because I was like, man, I want to do an album too. And I was like, oh, I don't know what songs. I was like, no, I have a whole humming list of things that I've, just stopped and hummed to, so that's really cool. Because I'm like, yeah, that makes sense now. That definitely makes sense.
Like the great David Lynch said, if you have an idea and if you don't write it down, you'll want to kill yourself. You want to kill yourself. Sorry.
David Lynch.
Shout out David Lynch. Yeah.
I know he's listening.
My boy.
Did you ever find yourself in a creative rut at all?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the fucking time. It took me a year and a half, and I think that's pretty self-evident. You know, it's like, it takes, for me who doesn't really know much about music, it takes a while for me to figure out a bar or a good melody or a good chord progression. It takes me a while because I'm learning alongside it. Some songs are faster than others. Like I said, the jazz one really like took me, I think, 3 months to really figure it down, to like get it down.
Was that your longest for an album?
That one was long. I think probably the longest. California by Leah also was pretty long because because of the scheduling thing, because I'm working, she's working, and I'm not working by myself anymore. I'm collaborating with other people.
Right.
And when I get into rut, it's like, it's depressing, man. It's hard. It's tough to get out of there. It's like, am I just not good?
Sure.
It's like, what is happening?
So it's like a personal
I'm just like, man, am I ever gonna finish this project, or is it, how do I be that good? Like, Parvati makes fun of me for this. When I see a good piece of art, movie, music, whatever, a piece of me dies, because I feel like I would never be that good. Like when I listen to John Williams sometimes, when I listen to Hans Zimmer sometimes, when I saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire or something as good as that, a piece of me died. I'm like, bro, I should just quit, because I will never be that good.
Yeah, it's interesting that you take this like perspective of like you're almost comparing yourself to these artists rather than taking inspiration.
I think it's both.
Okay.
For sure, it's both. I think I learn from all of them. Everything that I know when it comes to art, I learned from people who came before me, the greats, right? And then the ugly and the bad, I think there's something in me that was like, I will never be able to be that articulate and that good at something. I might as well just fucking quit.
Was there any medium that you used, like TV, music, book, poem, etc., that you would revisit to help kind of rejuvenate your creative juices?
Oh wow. Throughout the album?
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa. Let me think. I think my main source of inspiration when it comes to that is other music and how they make me feel. And I was able to, I think I have a pretty semi-good ability to pinpoint why certain things make me feel a certain way. And that makes it for me a little easier when I, listen to a piece of music and understanding how it works and understanding why it works, and then be able to apply it with my own stuff. So I think when it comes to medium in that regards, it's mostly, artists that I like, or a piece of memory that I had that made me feel this way, and I know this sounds make me feel this way too, so let's just combine the two and made it sound the way that I want it to sound. Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so I think that's all the questions I kind of had for our introduction. I think if you're ready, I'm ready to go into yeah, the first part of the song.
I'm so ready.
Yeah, man.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So our first song on the album is Nishikigoi.
Yes.
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's listen to the first 30 seconds of it. I think that helped. We leave this in, but I think listening to it in the moment really just kind of helps.
Right.
And I think sitting here watching you as the song was going, you kind of went into this like meditative state.
I didn't know you were watching me.
I was. And it made me a little emotional because I saw that you were getting a little emotional with it as well. Yeah. And I think just seeing you in that state, I could feel the love that you put into this song, especially for your grandpa, you know? And so, yeah, just being able to be here in this moment with you, I think was extra bonus points, if you will, for this song.
Well, thank you. I wasn't expecting to be watched. I thought we were just listening to it.
We were.
But sure, yeah.
It wasn't my plan to watch you either, but it just happened that you
I hope I look good.
You look great, man. But, you know, I think I just really appreciate just seeing the passion, like clear passion. You know, it was like I was watching you compose almost. Watching you, like you were like swaying with it almost, you know? And so like it kind of lulled me into like what I think you were trying to say with this song, you know? And when I first listened to it, and I talked about how it felt like almost like a walk in a park, right? We open up with like the sound of wind, you know, and it's swaying through trees or leaves or grass or something like that.
Interesting.
You know? And, you know, it started with a...
Very, very zen.
Right? Very zen.
Very zen.
I you know, that was it a cello?
It was a cello. Yes.
You know, it's a low timbre, and like to me, I read a little bit from the pamphlet, so I kind of had an idea what was going on, and so to me, that cello felt like a slow voice of wisdom. You know.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, and to me, it kind of felt like that was like a characterization of your grandpa.
It was
a little bit, right? So you introduce us into this world of the song with like a walk in the park, and that's what you talk about. You know, is that you spend a lot of time following your grandpa around as he walked around the park and whatnot. And as the song progressed, right, there's the orchestra that kicks in with it that starts to join in with the song, and for me that felt like the introduction of you into your grandpa's life, like it was the history of your family, you know. This like he I don't know the story. You'll let me know in a bit.
I'm interested in like we talked about this in our prep for this episode. Is like in a way that you're interviewing me, but in a way that I'm interviewing you too, because like we've been holding our conversation for this podcast every lunch. It's like, let's save it for the podcast. And I'm dying. To know what you think and what you take out of it, you know? So in a way it's like it's a dialogue, and I'm interested in what you took out of it.
Sure. Yeah. 100%, man. Cause I there's no lyrics to this. We can't break it down. This isn't like a poem or something. This is, piece. And so from my perspective, I felt like this was one way to start the conversation on the song. You know, this is my interpretation, right? And you can clearly say, actually, this is about something entirely different, So orchestra felt like history. I love the piano, felt very tender. I love this idea that you are physically setting us into a location, right? Into a park with like this visual of a garden, the wind, the water, etc. There's a part in the song where a sustained note carries throughout the intro and then dissipates after the orchestration comes in. Small interpretation of it could have been like the departure of your grandpa, perhaps. Yeah, so that's kind of my take on it. Can you tell me a little bit more on the song?
Yeah, that's a very like cohesive and like very detailed deconstruction of the song. And I don't think you're too far off from my intention. What's interesting, I think, that I guess it wasn't intention in terms of like setting everyone into this garden per se. It is kind of the imagery that I was thinking about, but the actual sound that I was using is actually the ocean. It's actually the sound of ocean waves. And
definitely at the end, right?
Yes, definitely at the end. In the beginning,
it is ocean.
It is ocean.
It wasn't grass.
It wasn't.
Oh,
yeah. So I think it's really interesting that it's kind of ambiguous in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I went to grass because the front cover is the old man and the cat looking into a pond with the koi fish. So I thought that, like, to me it was like you are setting the stage like for the first act, and like. That's the front cover, so this is where we're gonna go.
I think that's a good way of looking at it, and then I don't think that's wrong. I actually think that's very what's the word? Another word for like naturally you would see this thing this way.
Yeah.
My idea or concept for the art for the cover came way later. So I wasn't even thinking about the pond.
Oh, interesting.
And I was thinking more so like looking at the koi fish with my grandpa, or like listening to his voice down the hall. My intention was to kind of set the stage, as you said, kind of inviting people to kind of lean in and listen to what I have to say. You guys are at a beach, or you took it as at a park or at a pond somewhere, which is I also feel like it's very fitting in this case. That's kind of the world that I'm inviting people in.
Can you tell me a little bit about the title of the song and what it means to you?
Oh yeah, the title of the song is Nishikigoi. And my grandparents, they were raised in Japanese culture because at the time World War II was still happening, and then Taiwan and some part of China was colonized by Japan at the time. So and when they were kids, they grew up thinking that they're Japanese, and then when the war ended, and then they realized they're actually Taiwanese, and they had to kind of learn Mandarin.
Wow.
So they grew up thinking they were Japanese, which is crazy to me. And that culture they brought alongside with them for so many years. They were basically Japanese. Yeah. And they speak Japanese all the time to each other. They also speak Mandarin. My grandpa also speak English. So he's a very talented linguist. Yeah. I named it that way because Nishikigoi means koi fish, and in Japanese, and it specifically means the koi fish that you view, not the ones that you eat.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's basically what it means. I think one of the, as you said, the core memories of when I was growing up, but as a kid, is looking at the koi fish, and this is one specific koi fish in the yard.
Sure.
That is a butterfly koi, which is the one that you see on the cover and the disc phase. It's different from all the other kois because, in English it's called the butterfly koi. It means that it has like very long fins and it kind of just like flows in the water. And I remember that one's my like specific favorite out of the pond, and I would feed it a lot more than the other koi fish. Yeah, so it's just like one of my core memories being there and being with my family and my grandparents for sure. Yeah.
Do you find yourself as that koi, or do you find that your grandpa is kind of represented by that koi?
Oh, that's a deep question. I don't think. Wow. I think probably not me. I think if I were to pick, I definitely project a lot. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was my grandpa all along, and my cat passed away too, and now they're swimming in the pond somewhere. I think that's kind of cute.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory of your grandpa?
Oh, I don't think I have a. Mm-hmm. I think it's just.
Tell me all.
Damn. We
have time.
I mean, there's a lot of like quirky stuff where like I don't think we do much because my grandparents are not very. As they got older, they became very stationary.
Yeah.
In terms of like what they do every day, they're very routine people. They don't really like changes, and they don't really have much of a hobby. So we would go to the same restaurants, same 5 restaurants every day. We would go to the same exact coffee shop every day, order the same exact thing.
Yeah.
We'll sit there for the entire afternoon talking about whatever the fuck. And then that will be a day. They'll get something for dinner and then go home. That and it was like that for so long. And at the time, it is hard. And I think everyone who lives or has taken care or has dealt with an older person understand it's difficult sometimes to take care of an elderly or spend time with them because it gets very repetitive.
Yeah.
And I think at some point as I gotten older, I try to enjoy those moments because you realize that I don't have that much time. They don't have that much time. Nobody has that much time. And it's just trying to savor every moment that we have on this earth, Yeah.
Did you find yourself embodying a lot of those emotions as you were writing this piece? Kind of perspective.
I think more of a peaceful way. And, as you probably seen from the booklet in the CD is like, I chose the voice of a cello because it sounds like an old man.
Mm-hmm. Old wisdom.
Yeah, old wisdom. And it's like, in this house, when he used to come to America and visit us, he used to like walk around the hallway upstairs and humming to some sort of melody or like the really, really old Japanese song.
Yeah.
There was a joke in my family where he thinks that everything after the World War II is new. Yeah. So like there's this one time, it was before my time, but I think my dad or something, a couple of friends of my dad was over and they were listening to songs or whatever. And then my grandpa walked by and then heard the song. And then my dad and his friends were like, this is such an old song or something. And then my grandpa was like, this is a new song, right? This is after World War II. So like for him, like everything after, it was a really funny joke, but it's just really funny. Yeah. And you always listen to those very old traditional enka, specifically Japanese enka songs on his iPad on repeat, and he will hum it. Sometimes he'll play the piano, not very well, but he plays it sometimes.
Sure.
And it's just like the faint memories of some of the melodies that he was humming when I'm in my room and I heard him down the hall.
Yeah.
And I try to encapsulate that into a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
For context for people at home, I had to look up what Enka, what it meant. So this is just taken from Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Lyrics are usually written similarly around the themes of love and loss, loneliness, enduring hardships, and persevering in the face of difficulties.
Right.
Do you consider this song to be your enka for your grandpa?
That's a great way of putting it. I love that. It is. It definitely is. Even though I didn't really think about it, but yes, it's 100% that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tribute to him. And I think a lot of the little pockets, not all of it, but a little pockets in the song, it's from a song that we picked for his funeral.
Really?
It's like some of the cadences or some of the flow, I just kind of like, because I edited a video for the funeral, like some of his older photos and alongside a song and a lyric and a translation and all that. So I worked on that video, and that song, it was a Japanese song. It stuck to me a lot. And then this is kind of my attempts to like capturing what that song made me feel when I heard it at the funeral with what I heard him humming when he was still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that feeling like a place of zen for you and peace?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was a huge loss for sure. And I was going through a lot of emotions after his death. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was not in a good place for a good, almost a year, I think. I was not good. And it ruined, I mean, I wouldn't say ruined, but it affected me a lot on interpersonal relationship with me and my friends, my relationship with myself, and my relationship with my girlfriend and all these things. And to be able to come out of that and people still love me and support me, I'm very blessed with that. And I think this is a tribute to him, and also a reminder for me to like chill out, you know. Sure. It's peaceful.
Yeah.
And dying is a part of life. And you know, this is like the first major death for me, at least in my family. Yeah.
I've been there, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
And I can say that like I definitely have taken to like using art as a way to try to cope.
Yeah.
When my grandparents passed away, years apart, but my grandma passed away, and so we were going to lose the house. They were going to sell it. And so what I did is I went and recorded what I could of the house.
Yeah, you told me about this story a while ago. Yeah.
I haven't finished it.
Beautiful story. I think it's what you did is like very sentimental, and there's something beautiful about these tiny things, you know?
Yeah. I think when we do that for us, you know, I think it's a way for us to kind of preserve and hold on to their memory.
Yeah.
You know, I did it from a visual kind of perspective because to me it was a lot about the sights and sounds, right? Like what I'd want to do is like my grandpa always watched Jeopardy, you know, and so I'd love, you can always hear it from a different room, you know?
Yeah.
Or The Price is Right, you know, and it's just that idea. They had hummingbirds, right? So there's like this visual of hummingbirds and whatnot. And for you, you kind of did the same thing where like you kind of started to emulate that peace. Like I found peace in my grandparents' house. You found peace in this with your grandpa,
right?
You know, and this Zen moment. And so you encapsulated the ocean, you know, and the koi fish and things like that. The visual of the koi fish, right? It's as I'm saying it out loud, it's kind of crazy that we both kind of have like very similar processes.
I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, for art.
Yeah.
You know, with this song, you know, does it feel like our loved ones ever really gone, or did they stay with us?
I mean, if you don't remember them, then they're gone. Yeah. Right. I one of the things that I want to talk about in the booklet, it's that I'm really like plugging my CD, but that's not my point.
Gotta release a book at some point.
Yeah, but it's like the movie Coco. You don't. If people pass away, if you stop remembering them, they're gone. Like if you're still living, you still remember them, you still carry whatever they used to carry, whatever it is, like the way you talk or the way you see things or the little habits that you pick up from them, whatever the hell it is, you carry it with you as long as you keep going.
Yeah. All right. So the next song is C341. Let's take a listen. All right, dude. Like, the first thing on my notes is jazz. Okay,
Question
Justin
mark?
Hurwitz. Yeah. Okay, Justin Hurwitz. Yeah, cool. It felt very sneaky
Yeah.
conniving,
Right.
right? You got some snaps in there.
Yes.
Dun, dun,
A lot of snaps.
dun,
A
dun.
lot of West Side Story.
Yeah. There's dinnerware sound effects.
Yes.
Right?
Silverware.
Sound effects, a dialogue of a spaceship launching, right? So you're in the first song, you kind of took us to a garden or an ocean or whatever. Here, we're in a restaurant.
Yes.
And then we're being blasted off into space.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like for me on this one, it was a nice surprise, right? You kind of you lulled us into this like zen, this peace, and quickly just in the pamphlet you talk about how this song is mainly about your cat.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about the relationship with your cat.
Yeah, it's Tiger. It's our first cat ever. I think because growing up, my mom, at least my parents never allowed us to have any pets. So he's one of those like goldfish family,
Wow, yeah.
or turtle family, you know. So like we never were allowed to have dogs, cats, or birds or whatever that people tend to have. As we got older, we moved out of Beijing, and then we were all kind of like living our separate lives in different countries. There's this one time we visit Beijing, and then my dad kind of surprised us with this 2-month-old little kitty. And then, I think that was the moment. It was like, oh, we finally have a cat, a pet. And we named it Tiger because it was so jumpy all the time. It's like inspired by the Winnie the Pooh Tiger. Yeah. And when he was a kid, he would just like run around the house for no reason at all. And it's kind of crazy. But it's American. It was an American short hair, and we later learned that this particular breed of cat, you tend to have some heart issues.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it passed away prematurely, basically. It passed away, I think, a couple months before my grandpa did.
Wow.
Like very, very close within one another. And it's like, I think my cat was the first time that I experienced like
death.
Death, and the feeling like when I heard that news, my heart sank.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to process it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely the first blow, like first introduction to death and grieving.
But this song isn't about like the first song is about remembering loved ones for death. This one's like something completely different.
Yes.
Like it's jazz. Why use jazz to tell the story of your cat?
I actually don't know. That's
the best answer.
Yeah, I actually don't know why specifically, because I was originally thinking about something else that I don't remember right now to like kind of encapsulate what a cat sound like. But it's just kind of turned into jazz because it's so rhythmic. It's such a colorful genre that has such complex harmonies and chord progression that I still don't fucking understand a bit.
Sounds great, man.
Yeah, but I feel like when I listen to jazz, when I listen to something more rhythmic and a little bit more happy or exciting, it makes me think of how he used to like jump around and run around my house. Yeah. And then I just wrote a song for that. As you said, it tells a different story. It's a complete 180 from the first song. Yeah. And is also kind of a world building kind of song to like at a restaurant somewhere, on the street somewhere, and leading up to a blast off. Yeah. I think it's literally like my fantasy of like my cat roaming around the street. Yeah. Like stealing food from a restaurant.
Got you.
And then like getting on a spaceship and then get the fuck out of there, and explore galaxies and universe outside of Earth. And that's kind of like my tiny little fantasy about my cat. Yeah.
Is there a reason you called it C341? What does that mean?
There is. Did you find anything?
No, I didn't think to Google it because I was waiting for it to be some Michael Giacchino, the Apes of Wrath kind of thing. Like there's something hidden here that you have to tell me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Shout out to Giacchino. We'll talk about him a little later, I think.
Number one fan of an avid listener of the Crest Service Table.
Oh yeah,
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
Shout out to Michael.
Friend of the show. We love Mike.
Yeah, he's been on soon.
Yeah.
He'll be on soon.
Yeah. What's the question? Why is it called?
C341?
C341 is, fun fact, is a code name for the first feline that went to space.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
So that's the name that I decided to pick. I just imagine I was just projecting my own cat. He was the first cat who actually went to space. So I thought it was like a cute little title for people to kind of dig around and like try to think about why.
I didn't do any digging.
That's fine, man.
I really, to be honest with you, I really thought it was like got to be something like it's trying to spell cat somehow or like or something. But that's cool. I really like that connection.
Yeah,
I think that really helps like build the world of this idea that like, you know, your cat is off on adventures and is conniving, and I think jazz is a great way to kind of like employ that sort of idea.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't really get like a story within it, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think I was more just taken aback by jazz.
You're so surprised.
I was so surprised.
I don't think I've ever done
like,
anything like this.
In a good way. Like, I was like, wait, this is good. Like, I can't do jazz. This is awesome.
I can't do jazz.
and then I'm listening to it, and then you start doing like the dinnerware. And to me, you were just having a lot of fun with this song.
Yes.
And I think that just goes with the thing that you're trying to elicit about your cat. That your cat was fun, and it was like this bundle of joy, and it was your joy. And listening to this song, that's what I got. You know, it's like, oh, now we're in, you know, I was like, oh, it's Ratatouille. Like we're at a diner somewhere, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, you're doing like a takeoff thing, and I'm dumb. I didn't make the connection that even though you say it in your pamphlet, it's about your cat taking off.
Yeah.
I took it as just the idea of the cat taking off and not like the actual story.
And that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
That's great too. I think you can take your own interpretation out of it. And it's as you said, I was having fun. It was fucking hard fun. Like
Sure.
I wanted to make it work, but it took me so long to get it right.
Yeah.
I was stuck at like I think I wrote the first 8 bars or something.
Oh, and just like
and then I was stuck for like 3 months.
Wow.
Didn't know what to do with
smokes,
it.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do. I keep going back to it. I got nothing. Keep going back to it. Got nothing.
Yeah.
At one point, I was just like, maybe I should just give up the jazz idea.
Yeah.
Maybe try something else. And then I don't know what happened. Something just clicked that I can do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just went crazy with the transitions. I went crazy with the world building aspect of the song, and like how crazy can I get with setting up like a blast off and a countdown and like blast the audience out almost at the end too. Like that's when I realized that I can't be too hard on myself. Kind of have to like, okay, no expectation. Let's just see what comes out of it, and then see if it worked. And you know, and yeah, it's definitely one of the hardest songs that I ever have to work on because I don't understand jazz.
Sure.
Yeah.
Your efforts paid off, man, because I think this is probably one of my favorite of the whole album.
Yeah, which is very surprising. A lot of people texting me
really
about somehow this song like really connected with people. People are like, you know, Chase. Shout out to Chase.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He texted me. He was like, yo, this is my favorite song. I'm like,
wow,
what?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then like, cool. Not just him, like, you know, Sam or Aishu or the other Sam, like people texting me with like a screenshot of this song on Spotify and said, this is my favorite song, which just, I don't know, man, it really blew me away.
Yeah, no, dude, I think that's really cool because it's just it's a fun song. And I think, you know, this idea of using sound effects and instruments to tell a story like you do in the first one, and you really like go off on the second one, you know, where you know, it's like it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Glad you enjoyed it, man.
Yeah. Is there any reason you believe your cat is going to space or is in space?
It was a very stupid, tiny little thing that just stuck with me for so long. There's this one photo of my cat where I don't know what you call it, but it's like one of those backpacks where you put your cat in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like a space module thing.
Craft, yeah.
It's like completely transparent, and I think it's made out of plastic, and it has holes in it for breathing, and you can see through it. And there was a photo of my cat inside one of those backpacks, and he was looking up somewhere. And then that photo stuck with me because it looks like it's a space cat. Like he's in space somewhere. Like
yeah.
he's on one of those cartoon rockets, and then he's
Sure.
like looking out. And I just ever since that photo was taken, I was like, yeah, he's a space cat. He's in space. Yeah.
That is pretty cool. I like that. You ready to go on to the next song?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's keep running through it. Animotophobia. Animotophobia?
Animotophobia.
Let's go to the next song.
Yeah.
Animotophobia.
Yeah.
Let's give it a listen.
Give it a listen.
So yeah, my notes for this one was like, I love that it was dark and it was moody.
Yeah.
Felt almost as if like time was passing by.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this was intentional or not,
Doesn't matter.
but it sounded like the Spider-Man TV theme.
Wow. Okay, you're the second one who said that.
Spider-Man.
I actually never heard of that.
Who was the first person that said that?
Derek.
Derek.
Yeah. I never heard of that theme.
Yeah.
I guess I just wrote something similar. I guess
It's in No Way Home, like Michael Giacchino's.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, that's fine. But for me, I was like, "Are you?" Because I had to look up what animotophobia was.
Yeah, me too, man.
In the first place. So it is from Latin animotus, meaning emotion. Yeah, and it is the fear of emotions. Yes. So to me, it was kind of like you were trying to like elicit like we're already in this like dark and moody like da da da, right? It was your kind of like people have this fear of spiders, right? Something that's crawling or encroaching into your space.
Okay.
Right, and so like your the fear of emotions is like crawling into your space. So it was like a very meta commentary of like Spider-Man.
That's awesome.
But like putting it in the perspective of like your emotions.
Yeah.
Right? So what about emotions are you afraid of?
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay, getting right in. Well, it's not Spider-Man, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting. That people got a Spider-Man out of that. I think it's great. My only Spider-Man theme is the Danny Elfman one. So
fair. Respect.
So ever since the two death, more specifically my grandpa's, I was definitely for a long time, I was having a really hard time kind of accepting that and also like trying to move forward and dealing with grief. As I said earlier, my relationship with a lot of people are affected by it because I found myself changing and being more defensive about things or being not as accepting about people's advice or what people say and other people's feelings.
Right.
And
it's always hard.
Yeah, and what I was feeling is that, am I just becoming a dick now? Like, am I just becoming an asshole? And, is this a start of something that I used to resent? That feeling scared me.
Yeah.
And, when you're dealing with grief is that you think about so many things, but you don't think about anything at the same time. I don't know how to kind of explain that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it just, there's a lot of sadness and anger, at least for me, when I'm dealing with that stuff last year. And I don't want to. Like, it's scary. I don't want to feel things anymore.
Yeah. I mean, with that, it's kind of like, you're saying that you were worried that, you felt like you were becoming a dick, right? Because you were kind of suppressing your emotions and you didn't want to feel them. Yeah. Right. And that's the scary part, is having to feel them. Yes. Why did it scare you? Is there like a fear of This is not yourself?
Yes. I feel like I was becoming a different person. And I think one of the biggest thing that I was struggling with that part is this a good thing or a bad thing? Like, I'm becoming this other person, and I found myself keep trying to be the person that I used to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not.
Yeah.
And it's just very confusing. Am I supposed to move forward and accept this new person that I am, or keep trying to become to return back to the person that I used to be?
Yeah.
Put it really simply, I don't want to be an asshole.
Sure.
I don't want to lose my friends.
Who does? Yeah.
I don't want to lose my family, and I don't want to lose my romantic relationship. I don't want to lose any of that. I want to come out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was what I was struggling with. Specifically coming to this song is, it is dark. I think emotions are scary. And yeah, to be able to kind of express myself. And I tend to have the habit, I think I still do, to write things that just turn dark somehow.
Sure.
It's a bad habit. But this one is really allowed me to be like, to indulge in that habit of mine of just like, let it be dark. Let it be dark. And yeah.
So did the song kind of embody the fear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. For sure.
Well, it felt like impeding, a constant force, something that you can't stop. Like,
right.
I think that's like part of the Spider-Man theme is like, it's like, like I know it's not that, but it's like, here comes Spider-Man, right? That's the whole thing. Here comes the Spider-Man. Here comes your emotions. And you're like, I don't want to fucking deal with that right now. Like,
yeah, right.
I know that wasn't your intent, but like, I could hear it.
Yeah.
And that's what I took from it.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's all that matters. I don't really, there's no point in finding out what I want people to feel.
Sure.
This is yours now.
Yeah.
Like, what's so beautiful about art is that it feels like my child, right? Like any art that you create, this is my little thing. And once it's out, it's not mine anymore. It's yours.
Sure.
And I'm giving this piece of me to you. Take it however you want to.
In your pamphlet, you kind of talk about how with emotion, and even just talking about it here, you kind of just talked about how like you felt like things were going by quickly, way too fast. How do I keep up? Who do I want to be? To the point where like it felt like a cacophony of just things and feelings and emotions just happening all at you all at once.
Yeah.
What did you end up doing that kind of brought you out of that?
I think time has a lot to do with it, because in the pamphlet I did say that one of my biggest fear is time. I am scared of it.
Is that age, or is it
anything really? Age is part of it for sure, getting old, but also like what I am able to achieve in set time. Time is always losing. Like I can't grab it, and like once it's gone, it's gone. I don't want to live a life where I look back and was like, man, I could have done something better or something like that,
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so scared of time. So in a way, I am really scared of time, but also time helped me to get out of this.
Yeah.
The old saying of time heals all wounds or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
It's such a cliche saying, but it's true. I think there's a lot of heart in that statement. And with time, I was able to got out of it, and it required a lot of support from friends, and family, and my girlfriend, and also required a lot of introspective.
Sure.
There was at one point where I was being such a bad person. I feel like you might not have seen it, but I feel like I've been a really bad person. Certainly not in my relationship. Like it was going bad.
Yeah.
And it was at a point where I really had to look into myself and fix things. And I went to Mojave Desert. I don't know if you know this actually. I don't think I told them. JJ knows this, but I didn't tell that many people, I guess. I went to the Mojave Desert. I drove there by myself, and I stayed there for a week. And
camping?
I wasn't camping. I stayed at a very small Airbnb, very cheap Airbnb. But every day I would wake up and grab breakfast, and then I would just drive into the desert and explore something. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I was completely by myself for that whole week.
Yeah. What were you trying to find?
Myself. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I realized what I was doing. Like, as I was spending so much time staring at the sand and the rocks and whatever, and like sweating my balls off, and then like trying to conquer this dune or whatever, I realized that I was just like looking for myself, really, trying to find myself again in between these sand.
Yeah.
And I got this little jar from my girlfriend, Parvati. She put a bunch of like notes inside that jar and then gave it to me, all these like very lovely notes. And I took that jar with me. I took all of the notes out and I filled it with sand. And then I brought it back. It's in my bedroom right now. Yeah, and like that's like a reminder of
your emotions hold weight.
Yeah. And like don't be blindsided by these scary things, you know. Try to always keep moving forward, you know. It's hard to do, but it's like a reminder. And it's like,
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Two things in my mind. First one is like, I love that you literally, you know, we talk about the fear of emotions. You literally went into the desert to fight to face your emotions and
fight my demons,
which was looking inward to yourself.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out, you know, who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really cool. And then it just sounds like, you know, I grew up in a Catholic school, so it was also like your like temptation of, you know, Christ or whatever. You were like a Jesus figure going out into the desert, tempted by the devil.
Right.
Obviously not that. But I don't know. When you were telling that story, that's what I thought of. But the same thing comes out of it from both narratives, is that like you were going there to self-reflect.
Yeah.
And figure yourself out. Yeah. Right? The world is trying to impede their own kind of narrative on yourself. But the only true one that matters is the one that you create.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think you were able to do that. And I think this song is a great demonstration of you know, that fear when you're out in the desert. I'm sure that's probably what you heard. You heard Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's all I heard, man. Yeah. No, honestly, I think I told JJ after this, after that whole thing, when I was driving in the desert, just all I heard was like, dude. I don't know. It's so funny. It's pretty funny.
Dances and
it's
stuff.
pretty funny.
Yeah, that's good.
That's how I kind of deal with problems. And I think a lot of times with these kind of issues, I need to take a lot of time. I need to take time by myself and really think about it.
Sure.
Yeah. And I discovered that after the military, I went on a hike around Taiwan. I walked with one of my buddies. We walked for 12 days straight. We walked half of Taiwan.
What the fuck, dude? That's crazy.
We would wake up at 5 and then we would just walk 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the freeway.
I think what's so interesting is that you're able to find yourself when you reinstate yourself back into nature. Which is so interesting that like you talk about like your grandpa was like those elements too. So it's really interesting to kind of just see like that connection happening. This feels like therapy.
Wow, thanks.
Yeah, this
that'll be our session.
Yeah.
How much would that be?
Charge me later.
Fuck.
Or I'll charge you later. I accept credit card. But you know that there is this connection to like nature and finding Zen, and the only place that you're able to find that is within nature.
It seems like it. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. You know, with that being said too, like on a smaller scale, like you can't always go out into nature. So what do you do on a smaller scale when it's something small?
Well, thankfully, I'm able to handle most of my emotions by myself.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
And as long as it's not something as huge as dealing with the death of my grandpa and my cat at the same time and losing my friends and losing myself.
Yeah.
As long as it's not as big as that, I find I can just do it by myself at home or just really focus on myself and be introspective.
Sure.
But that was like a tipping point. That was it was so difficult for me that I had to like, I'm going to drive away.
Yeah.
And I need to be away from everything. I need to think about this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like, you know, when I listened to the album, I felt like up to this point, we had hit Act 1. And Snowglobe kind of leads us into like a intermission or prelude or what was the word that you used?
Interlude. I used interlude.
Yeah, like a moment of
A break.
A break.
Yeah, break.
Yeah,
It's
a musical break.
Yeah.
In my notes I have so cool. I love that it had a real life component of you and Parvati in it.
Yes.
It was so charming and beautiful that both of you are laughing. You're like, I already have, the next part of the song, and in mind. And then it's just this cacophony, controlled chaos, if you will, right? These can stop at any time, but it's just going off.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what your idea was behind this.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a thing that I was set out to do. I'm going to put that thing in an album. And I've had that idea ever since we recorded that a little bit, like 2.5 years ago.
Snowglobes, or the idea of chaos from something?
Snowglobes.
Yeah.
So everything, I didn't do anything with this interlude. Like it's an actual recording, and all I did was slap some effects and reverb on it. That's all I did basically, and did a little remixing. But when Parvati and I were still kind of like talking in the beginning stage, I don't know what was it, but it's just like there's this idea that just came out of nowhere, I guess, that we had to make an album to like encapsulate these beautiful moments that we used to have.
Yeah.
And then we would record very random shit. Like I think we record like our tapping pencils together on set one day, or Snow Globe is one of the things that we recorded, and it was at a Target. Nice. It was, I think, during Christmas season, so there was a lot of like snow globes.
I imagine you guys in a thrift shop. That's where this took me.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I think we were at a Target.
I'd buy Target. In my head, though, I felt like the thrift shop just really like played into like this charm of you guys are just like, I don't know. It's like
we go to thrift shop a lot. So let me change the narrative. Yeah, we were at a thrift shop. Yeah. That makes it cuter.
Or antique shop. I'm sorry, not a thrift shop. Antique shop.
Antique shop. Yeah, we never go to Target actually. So we found a shelf full of snow globes.
Yeah.
And then we were just so bored that we started like twisting every single one of them and putting it back to the shelf.
Yeah.
And soon enough, like you can hear all of the snow globes like 10 aisles down.
That's crazy. I'm sure the employees loved you.
Yes, but it was really fun. And then we were just like twisting it, putting it back. And then it was also in the middle of like us creating an album.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that I already have the song in mind.
Yeah.
And then I used the sound of like almost like a music box like for the next song, which is Amoeba.
Got it. Yeah. So this Snow Globes inspired the next song.
Pretty much, almost.
And you were talking about an album that you're going to make for Parvati. Is that something separate, or is
it's separate?
Okay.
Yeah, something is separate, but I think that we quickly realized that idea was too ambitious, that there's no way we could do it actually.
Sure.
Yeah, but this is kind of my attempt to still holding on to that promise that we had, and then creating a big spot in the middle of it, because she dealt with the fucking worst of me. I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry, but
shout out to Parvati.
But it's not an album, but it's a huge spot in the album. Yeah.
I think this was a fun moment for me where I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Do you remember, did you get it right in the first take? Was this a one take wonder, or was this many takes?
With the
recording?
Snow Globe?
Yeah.
One take wonder, baby. Man. Yeah, we're skillful with the snow globes, bro. And it was completely spontaneous. We didn't script that.
Yeah.
And I legitimately, like 2.5 years ago, I said, I already have the song in mind. And then when I was listening to this little recording again, I couldn't believe I said that. I was like, that is such a good point to use as an interlude.
It's a tradition. Yeah.
So I just used it.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any better time to then just move into the next song.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we moved into Amoeba. my first note on this is whether intentional. Here's another one. Whether intentional or not, sound a little bit like the Grand Budapest Hotel, Alexander Desplat.
Okay.
Yeah. It had that Wes Anderson pluck to it. Dun, dun, it's not the song exactly, but
yeah, right.
Wes Anderson is like the dun 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 dun.
A lot of Wes Anderson and Desplat mix. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, an amoeba is a type of cell or unicellular organism with the ability to alter its shape,
right.
Primarily by extending and retracting pseudopods. In the pamphlet, you talk about love and kind of how ambitious it kind of can be to pursue it. Do you feel that love is like an amoeba, in that love can change?
Oh, it's kind of an inside joke.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of an inside joke with me and Parvati. Like, amoeba is like a word that is bigger than love, because like I don't know. We don't know exactly what the scientific thing is.
I just read it for you.
It's just like amoeba feels like, oh, you could like these things that are just kind of roaming around, and then like they merge together and then separate together and emerge together and separate. At least whatever, if that's true or not, that's how we envision when we say amoeba, and we kind of use that word in our day-to-day on a day-to-day basis.
So you kind of use the word, it's interchangeable with love?
Yeah.
For love? Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, but
it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of love, though, is that like, you can define it any way that you want, you know, like, and you're talking about how it amoeba moves in and out and changes and meets up and meets together. Like, you're in and out of love, you know, and you're always trying to find it.
For sure.
And very interesting that you both fittingly called your love for each other amoeba.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a really good way of putting it, like going in and out of love, and you have so many different stages and ways of love.
Yeah.
And you were right. It was Wes Anderson and Desplat inspired. One of the songs that I was listening to for main inspiration for when I was writing this song was the first song on The French Dispatch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was always kind of a joke that I hate how Desplat is such a darling for the Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And Parvati loves Desplat. And she loves all the Anderson Desplat collab.
Yeah.
So this is also like a thing to say, yeah, I can fucking do that. Let's do that, you know? Nice. So let's do a song that's like kind of in that vein.
Sure.
Yeah. When it comes to like the song, I guess just I always wanted to write a love song, however that may sound like. Like it can be romantic. Yeah. But it can be fun and happy too. Yeah. Which I think I took more of an approach of love is being triumphant. It's powerful. Yeah. And you know, it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be, as you said, the love for your dog or my cat, the love for your grandma, for my grandpa, for anyone or anything in life. So it's definitely more of a general like love theme.
Sure. Does it pertain to you and Parvati? Or do you think it's just love in general? Yeah, like is it the theme for you?
That's the starting point. Yeah, I wrote the song for her for sure. But what I am hoping, I guess, is just like not only is this for her, people who listen to it can apply to their own situation. I wrote it for her for sure.
That's beautiful, man.
But if you can take it however you want to take it, that's beautiful too. Yeah.
At what stage of love were you kind of, using to inspire this song? So like, is this like fresh love? No. First time meeting each other and it's like plucky and you're running through like, like a Wes Anderson, you're in the library and that sort of thing? Or is it something that's like later on in life where it's like maybe it's the moment that you are in with Parvati now?
Well, I don't think there's a specific time frame when it comes to that. I think I just wrote it with the intention of this is a song about love, this is a song about her, and this is a song about how I feel around her. Yeah. This is my emotion in music form. And to be able to do it in a style that she loved, I think it's like I kind of a diss at Desplat a little bit.
Sure.
I originally
you're
wrote it.
Punching down Desplat, but you're punching up Parvati. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wrote a diss in the booklet for Desplat, but I deleted that. Yeah, I was like, I forgot what I wrote, but it was kind of like a jab at Desplat in a funny way.
Yeah.
I got nothing against Desplat. I think he's a great composer.
Yeah.
I just hate that he's such a darling for the Academy. But I just put a diss in the booklet and I ended up deleting it because it
wasn't fitting.
It wasn't fitting. A love, it comes in so many different shapes and forms and colors, and to me it's all love is love kind of thing. And and it's just the way I feel about love. It's powerful, it's personal, it's triumphant, and it's harmonious. Yeah.
Ready to get on to the next song?
Yeah.
Ready to get to the next course?
Next course, last meal time.
Let's go. Josh, if you're listening, we love you. So we're back. We can even use that last bit of talk about Nick and everyone listening to it. I called back, so now you have to do it.
Wow.
All right. So this piece, man, when I listened to it, first of all, very beautiful. I love the use of piano and orchestration. I love at the end, right, that it kind of like became somber for a little bit and then became grandiose, right? In your pamphlet, you talk about how the feeling of loss, is hard, or even being vulnerable is hard. And so it definitely, with it, having that in mind, you can definitely get that feeling from this song of someone kind of just going through a triumph, right? What I think about is like, I'm going to name drop John Williams again. When you talk about Indiana Jones theme, right? Some people like to break it down to the idea that it's like someone stumbling and getting back up. Bum, ba, bum, ba.
Yeah.
And it goes back down. Bum, ba, bum. It gets punched. It comes back up. Bum, ba, bum, ba. But higher.
And then keep going.
And then bum, ba, bum, bum, bum. Like it's so direct.
Right.
And this song is kind of like that, where it's doing that, like it's bringing you down here. You have that first. You're doing this like. That first kind of call is like someone who's uncertain with themselves, but then you have like the second call of someone who's like, it's okay, that reassurance, that peace that you kind of talk about in your pamphlet. From listening to it as well, I kind of got that you were inspired by The Terminal on this one. Am I correct? Am I wrong?
Do you want an answer?
Yeah, I want an answer. Tell me I'm right. That's what I want to know. No!
This is not. No.
This is not The Terminal?
This is
not the fountain scene?
No.
This is not the fountain.
I think you got that because I used the clarinet a lot in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get that.
You weren't.
But no, it's not inspired by that.
Oh.
No. Yeah.
I knew you. I thought this was the fountain scene, bro.
I knew that you knew me enough that you would think it's inspired by Terminal,
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's not. Yeah.
Well, what is it?
It's actually, a lot of it is inspired by Joe Hisaishi.
Oh, okay.
And what he does.
Who's that? Yeah,
Joe Hisaishi is pretty much the composer for all the Ghibli or Ghibli, however the fuck you want to pronounce it. Ghibli films. I was expecting you to feel like to say that it sounds a little like Lord of the Rings too.
The only one that I got, Lord of the Rings one, was the first one, a little bit. But it was so small that I could kind of like coincidental.
Yeah, it was kind of coincidental. I kind of wrote it, and then when I was listening back, I was like, wait, it sounds a little bit like Hobbit. Lord of the Rings,
but not bad at all. Like, I do think it was different enough that I wasn't like, I know what you did.
I was facing that problem when I found out that it sounded like Lord of the Rings when I was writing it, and I had this issue of like, okay, should I go back and change a bar or should I keep going?
Yeah.
And ultimately I decided to keep going because I think I made a case for my own. I think 100%. I made it my own.
Yeah. And in me pointing that it sounds like another song. I don't think that's like a critique. I really do think it's like what is it? Great. It's respectful. You're not duplicating. You are like making it your own and bouncing off it and taking it, like punching up basically, where there's something behind it that is special and meaningful, right? You're trying to tell this thing about being vulnerable and finding that peace. And I definitely think that like you found it. Like the other note that I made is like, it felt reflective. Like someone learning to love and accept themselves. Yeah. Is that kind of like the idea for this song? Is it more of a reflection for yourself in learning that thing? Or is it more a broad generalization of what people should do? Or
I think it's both. And I think you hit the mark on that one for sure. Like, I think that's basically my intention, to come to acceptance with yourself and to be vulnerable with other people. And that's very I said that it's a very strong thing to do, to be vulnerable for other people and in front of other people. And when I wrote this song, I was definitely also not in a very good place. And I think through this song, I was kind of almost like screaming out for help, almost like,
really.
I think like I think that's why the structure is like going up and down, up and down, up and down. It has that cathartic feeling, hopefully. Yeah. When all the full orchestra come in. Yeah. I kind of consider this a sister song with Amoeba.
Okay. Yeah.
It's almost like a flip side of that, like a different version or a different corner of what love can be. And it is called Sini too. It's also related to Parvati. That's why it's like a different side of what Amoeba was. I think we were just riffing about some bullshit the other day, and then we were just like, okay, if the world crumbles and the apocalypse starts, and we're separated, where's our rendezvous point? Sydney. And then if we just say, oh, Sydney, for no reason at all, and that just became a thing.
I like that.
Yeah. So I like that. In a more general term, I hope everyone can find their Sydney. Yeah. Yeah. With another person or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you found your Sydney?
I'm always finding it, I guess. Yeah. I think it's a process. I feel like everyone is like on their way to find whatever that means to them, and whatever imagery or whatever place or thing or person you want to project that onto. Ours happened to be Sydney
place,
you know, and I wanted to capture that kind of vulnerability and nostalgic feeling, and I think that's why one of the biggest inspiration for this song, I was listening to a lot of Joe Hisaishi, and then how he kind of blends his music perfectly between Western and Eastern culture so beautifully, and the way he uses the language of music in terms of melodies, in terms of chord progressions, and it just evoke such a feeling of like thinking about some place that you used to be or you want to be. Yeah, and it's kind of like the feeling that you get when you listen to Randy Newman.
Nostalgic.
Yeah, and Randy Newman is great at chord progressions. And I think it's my take on that, I guess, my attempt at least.
I mean, if that was your goal, I think with all these songs in this album, I think he definitely achieved it.
Thank you.
Eliciting this idea of vulnerability and that it can be triumphant, right? Like you feel this idea that you have found your Sydney, you know, whether that is a place or a person or a thing even.
Or smell.
Or smell.
Piece of clothing. Whatever. It could be anything.
Whatever it is, you know, finding that Sydney. Yeah. So, I mean, naturally we would probably go to the next song on the album, but right now we're still waiting for Leah, who is on her way, who's actually here, but we're actually at the moment of recording, she's actually here. But through the magic of editing, we are going to cut
to 40 minutes from the future.
To the future, which is maybe a callback to, maybe we should call this back to the musical, the Howard, the Jake, and the composer. Anyways, let's cut to that interview with Leah for the next song, for the next song.
It's not a pre-tape, guy. It's a post-tape.
It's a post-tape at this point. It was supposed to be pre-tape, actually, right?
Yeah, but scheduling.
Yeah, scheduling. So anyways, California by Leah.
Enjoy, guys.
Out of my parents' house that August, and I drove my car down to California into the first place I had ever lived by myself, and I was completely by myself, and I didn't really know what to do at that point. I grew up in the forest with lots of rain and clouds, and we have seasons up there. At least Southern California doesn't really have seasons. It's beaches, desert.
But you love the beach, right?
I do like the beach. The beach is nice. I like all kinds of nature.
All right, yeah, so she is the senior samples and creative coordinator at Mattel. She is the director and animator of the YouTube channel Rockstar 13 Studios. Has a secret channel featuring the first ever adaptation of Percy Jackson series. Yeah. Her stop motion films put Henry Selick to shame. She is the narrator and vocalist for California by Leah. It is Leia Everett. Woo!
Oh, God.
Welcome to the show, Leah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Awesome. Happy that you're here, and I'm more excited to talk about this next song with you.
Thank you. I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, we just listened to the song itself, California by Leah. This is one of the first songs in the album that has spoken word and has narration. The first thing that popped out to me with this song was that it reminded me of the How I Met Mont song from The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Whether that was your intent or not in the creative process. Tell me, when you were first writing this, what came first? Was it like the poem or lyric, or I don't even know how you would describe it. Did that come first, or was it the music that came first?
It was Howard made the music and gave me something to write to. But the whole song was supposed to be sung. Like, there wasn't like a poem in there.
Sure, yeah.
But what happened was, while we were recording it, I was worried that we like ran into this issue where I think I wrote a little bit outside of my range.
What does that mean?
How did we describe it when we were recording it?
I basically it was a big challenge for the both of us, because I never worked with a vocalist before, and she never really hopped on a track before.
Sure.
And what's more over is that I don't know if you want me to, we can cut this out. I don't know if you want me to share this, that you weren't completely comfortable singing in front of people either.
That's fair. when you say people, was it like a group of people, or was it just like the two of you?
Well, I like karaoke all the time.
Yeah.
And I just think it's like so fun. And like I'll do that wherever. Like I'm not necessarily afraid of that, but it was I guess singing something that I wrote was just, I don't know why. It was just a little bit
Daunting.
A little bit daunting. Yeah. But I think also the way that I had wrote the verses that were supposed to be in place of that poem, I think were just not fit for my vocal range. So I was having a problem singing it when we actually went to record it.
Yeah.
Or like kind of staying on pitch. Because I also, like, as much as I karaoke, I think a big issue was if I don't have like a reference for the vocals of what pitch it's supposed to be in.
Yeah.
I am just like not used to coming up with own pitches in my head. So I can stay on pitch when I have like a guide in my head of what that song is supposed to sound like. But if I have to come up with it out of thin air, just a little bit difficult. So we were recording it, and then we kind of realized that the more softer parts of the song was just like not working out, because I feel I feel like I'm used to more belty songs.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah,
so
karaoke.
we kept that part in at the end, and we just the poem was just me talking about what I had written the verses about, or the inspiration. And then he was like, oh, we can just talk, and then I'll cut it up and put it in that. So and I think that worked out a little better.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like one thing that you're talking about was like your unfamiliarity or even confidence in like your musical performance. Howard in previous conversation talked about that, how he has little to zero knowledge of music. What is kind of like your relationship to music and song and things like that?
Well, yeah, good question. But first off, when Howard told me that he didn't have a lot of like actual musical training, I guess I was shocked, because I was like, I don't know how you produce with and I guess it is just practice, like over the years, because you told me you've been doing it for years, but I was really surprised when you told me you're like self-taught. So yeah, props to Howard for that.
Yeah, shout out to Howard.
Yes. Of course, yeah. My musical knowledge comes from I did band for like 7 years in middle school and high school. I played saxophone.
Hell yeah.
So I got a little bit of like traditional music training from that, so I can read sheet music. And I back when I was actually in band, I was really good at doing what's it called? I could play the whole like circle of fifths or whatever the heck. For any music person listening can do that. I can like transpose like the keys in my head and everything, but like I can't do that now because I'm just really out of practice. But that's where I learned like my actual musical training. I never did any like voice lessons. I kind of wish I did, but even before that, I learned how to play guitar when I was pretty young, just because my dad did. My dad like knew how to play, and like my grandpa as well, just casually. So I picked it up, and it's just been like a side hobby my whole life. I did a little bit of guitar lessons when I was in like elementary school. Sometimes I wish I stuck with it a little bit more. But I still like have my guitars and everything. Maybe I'll bring it down here someday, because I haven't played in a really long time, just because I don't have my stuff here. But yeah, mostly like self-taught with the vocals, but I had some traditional musical learning throughout school.
Yeah.
Can I hop on in for a second?
Yeah.
Before we jump into the song itself, I just want to say that I just want to share this story. We can cut this out if you don't want to.
Why is there so many?
I don't know. Because we didn't talk about it before. I don't know how much she wants me to share.
Yeah.
So just before we jump into the song, talking about your kind of training or like, lack of the experience of comfortably singing in front of other people. One of our biggest like struggle that we were trying to overcome was that part of it. And we quickly realized, as she said, that we couldn't really sing the first part of the original song because it was not quite what she was used to.
Gotcha.
And we realized that Leah's vocal is so different than what the music that I wrote for her that I feel like, shit, did I fuck this up?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know? And it was like, oh my God. And then she told me that this is type of songs that she's used to singing, which is, I think you pull out one of the songs by Ariana Grande, right? Which is, what song was that?
It was, well, I showed up here and I was like, man, I think if I start singing, he's gonna be like, why did I, like, she's like lying. She doesn't know how to sing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sing a little song to get like comfortable singing in front of someone for this, but also like a little bit of me had to kind of like prove that I did have like vocal ability.
Sure, yeah.
Because I didn't want to seem like a fool. But it was, Leave Me Lonely by Ariana Grande.
I don't think I know that song, but yeah.
And
Howard will play a little bit in the podcast.
No, it would be copyright claim.
Oh, wow.
But in our quest to overcome that issue, I put on the song with Ariana's vocal in it. I put it to such a high volume. And then I took her phone and I recorded her and I want her to go off. And then she fucking went off. I was just staring at her when she's singing and I was like, where the fuck is this coming from? Like, what? You, like, it was crazy. Like, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
And then right afterwards, we went back to our music. I'm like, this fucking sucks. My music sucks to what you can do, you know? And it's like, I feel so bad. I'm sorry, this is the shit that you have to deal with. No. But we did it anyways, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, the instrumental is beautiful. I love it. It was I just didn't know what I was doing.
I think what's kind of like remarkable and really fun about you guys just like recalling this moment is that you guys shot for the stars, you know, a little over your heads, but that you were able to find a common ground between the both of you where it was like what are our actual sensibilities, right? Do you have that like musical tendencies? In essence though, it's really cool to just see you guys work it out, right? You guys are at different levels of your like music abilities, right? And you're like, yo, hold up, I want to do this, but this is how we get here, you know? And I think that's a cool thing that I think a lot of people can glean from you guys in this song and in this album. The whole is like, it's like you guys are like a ragtag team and you've made something that is beautiful and also really good, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Because again, like when you were telling this narrative, this story, right? Like I want to start talking about that too. You know, like you talk about these, you know, there's kind of like a commonality theme of saying goodbye or letting things go, right? You said goodbye to Oregon in the story. You said goodbye to your family and leaving them. You know, you cry at the airport. That was difficult for you. You would say goodbye to your friends and things like that, and even saying goodbye to your cat. You, as in your life, you felt like you were living every day in different degrees of goodbye, which could feel like you weren't grounded. Did it ever feel like, you know, you were afraid of losing something when you were departing from these places?
Yeah, the first few years, I think I just expected to come back and everything would be exactly as it was because there was just so much consistency between all of my visits back home. And yeah, it wasn't until my cat died that one time and I wasn't there to say goodbye to her was when I was like, oh wow, this stuff can happen while I'm away, because I was really worried about what if something were to happen to like anyone back home, or, you know, I knew my cat was getting old, but I didn't think that would happen coincidentally while I happened to be down here. Sure. So yeah, that was like the first moment that I realized that even though I am still pretty close, like I can get on an easy plane and be home in 2 hours. There's still just some things I don't have control over.
Sure.
So that's just something that I've accepted. And I don't think it's like not sad to me in like a completely like devastating, crippling way, but it's just what happens when you choose to go find a life elsewhere.
Yeah.
On top of that, I think one of our earliest conversation about this project is our commonality and what we can meet at the center of what kind of theme can we attach ourselves to.
Yeah.
As she was talking about her experience, we realized that we both are not at home. We both lost our cat.
Wow.
And we both understand what it means to be away from our friends and our family and, you know, losing a pet or something. And I feel like that's kind of the ultimate theme that we decided to kind of tackle together, because that's our crossover.
Yeah.
You know, we understand that together.
No, I think that's really good. That again, like the idea that you guys are able to just find that center, like common ground for you guys, like a commonality. You talked about that you decided that you've kind of accepted that you have no control over these things. You know, what kind of was that catalyst for you that made you realize that? Was it like the death of your cat or leaving? You know, what element of that played a part?
Yeah, it definitely was the cat, because that was the first really big thing that happened. A few other things along the way, like I had this really close group of friends from high school. There's 4 of us, and it was like around the same time as my cat passing away as well. Like the group, I was still like individually really good friends with them, but then like something happened while I was away, and I came home and like the group was not the same. And I was like, what the heck happened while I was gone? And coincidentally now though, everyone has like found their way back to each other, and we like, you know, the group chat has been revived and everything. So
Nice.
you know, things can come back like that, but I still feel really weird about that whole thing, because they've explained to me, I guess, what the issue was, but since I wasn't there to experience it, it has always just felt like this thing that I'll never quite understand. Even though they're like my best friends, because I wasn't there when all of that was happening. So as much as they have talked to me about it, it's still just this thing that I feel I'll just never be able to get the way that they do.
Sure.
That's another thing that I realize, that things can just happen, and it might not be a loss of something, but just like an event or like a feeling that someone back home may have, that because I'm not there, it's I'm just not gonna get it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that like you've accepted that things aren't in your control a lot. I think a lot of that is played out in the song. Like, you know, you talk about like when seasons change, like, do I have to change too? That sort of thing. Is there an element of that you're afraid of? Like you're gonna lose part of yourself at all?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have this writing that I'm like currently working on, which I guess I'm a little spoiler right now. Like my next short film has themes of that. The whole thing is about long distance friendship and about this character that moves away, and she goes back to her hometown for the first time after being gone for a while, and her thoughts to herself are going back home feels like time stopped for you but went on for everyone else, and you're in this game of catch up like for the rest of your life, and you realize that the people that you grew up with, they don't really know you anymore, because now everything they know about you, like you have to tell them.
Wow.
You have to fill them in on everything.
Yeah.
And then all the people that you're going to meet in the new place that you live, they don't know anything about you, so you have to fill them in on everything that's happened to you, and your own memories fade, so like you're not going to be able to explain things well anymore at a certain point. So then you're kind of like, dang, is really anyone gonna ever like know who I am again?
Sure.
So that's like this character's feelings about what it's like to have 2 places that you're kind of going in between, and people that you care about in both of these places, but no one is ever really gonna know the whole story of you ever again.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah. Words to live by. Words to live by, for sure. Yeah. California by Leah. Is there anything behind the name specifically? Why you chose California by Leah?
Oh, I don't know. I think you said about how like photos are titled, like that whole thing.
We talked about this outside of recording, but basically we recorded everything. We worked on it for how long? 2 months? 3 months almost, I think, on this song specifically. When we finally recorded it, we're like, we don't have a title. What do we do? Because the production really changed direction a lot throughout that 2 and 3 months. We had a lot of different ideas. And we recorded it. She went home. And then I think the next day I texted you. I was like, or like a couple of weeks later, I said, do you have a title in mind? And she just like, I want something simple, something like California, something thematic. Yeah. I was like, okay, that sounds great. So I pitched in the idea of how do you feel about California by Leah, which is kind of like a nod to like photography, how photography and some other art forms are named. Yeah. So, and she was like, yeah, that's cool. So we stuck with California by Leah, and then I really like the instrumental. Yeah. So I released a bonus track for just the instrumental. It's mixed slightly differently. And my inner Michael Giacchino, we talked about it a little earlier, that my inner Giacchino couldn't let go of the idea of naming a song called California. It's just too good. I can't. It's right there. It's right there. It's too perfect, and I had to do it. So it's right there.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep it simple.
I think both titles work perfectly. One other thing, though, too, Howard, is that your vocal harmonizing with Leah's, or who is that? Is that a Leah octave down?
That is me.
That is you.
Oh, I'm surprised you heard that.
Yeah.
It's very far back in the back.
Sure.
So basically we layered her voice like 5 times. And just one on the left, one on the right, one in the center, one in the back, and then mine is in the very back. Sure. And we didn't record that when we were together. It is after I've done all the mixing and done all the effects, I realized it's missing something.
Wow.
It's missing an octave.
Yeah.
So I decided to record myself in a lower octave. I don't know how to harmonize. I'm not a singer.
You did it.
But I just record a very faint octave, so to fill in that frequency behind her. Yeah. So to make it sound a little bit more full.
Yeah,
so
I think
I'm surprised you heard that.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely just, it made me go, huh? Like I turned up the volume on my car. I was like, oh, it's Howard, I think. I think that's a cool little Easter egg, and I think it's just I didn't know you could sing. I didn't know that was part of you. It sounded great.
You did it.
It sounded great. And hearing myself back and then be like, yo, Leah, I'm so sorry.
No. No, it's hard to hear yourself back in a recording. I get it.
Yeah. For people who are struggling with like saying goodbye, what kind of words of advice or wisdom do you have for them?
Appreciate the good times you had, because you'll have to say goodbye to everyone eventually. Sorry.
Not unless you die first.
True. That's true.
Fucking got him.
Wow.
Wait,
yo.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah, not to be morbid, but I'm like, are all of my friends gonna be at my funeral, or am I going to be at all of theirs?
Sure. Real genuine questions.
Until then, I'll just be vibing. Yeah. I can't be bothered too much by that. But just appreciate the good times. Oh, yeah. That's
beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Live fast and die young.
Heck yeah.
That's another YouTube channel. Not Leah's though. Well, Leah, this has been fun. I'm glad that we were able to talk more. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to talk about or mention with this piece.
Just like, thank you, Howard, for all your hard work and being patient with all of like the whole process, because I also didn't really know what I was doing. So, and good job on the whole album. It's something to be very proud of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I should be thanking you, really. Like I think it's a learning experience for the both of us. At least I was really scared going in. Yeah. I didn't tell you that, obviously, for obvious reason. But I was willing to like, I'm ready to try. Yeah. I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to like see this thing through with you. And I'm really grateful that you were patient enough and had enough faith in me to like stick around and be like, let's fucking finish this thing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
For sure.
All right.
So now are we going back to 40 minutes before?
Yeah, we jumped to the future.
Yeah, we jumped to the past.
We're jumping to the past. Oh, I just did it. All right.
I'll see you guys 40 minutes earlier. Bye.
Bye. And we're back.
Whoa.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, I look so much
older,
younger because
that was such a great
earlier
conversation, even though we haven't had it yet.
When you said that one thing, amazing. Incredible.
Dude, when Leah shared that thing,
crazy.
Really hit me, man.
The fact that those things happen, insane.
Yeah, crazy.
Insane. I really can't. But we can't dwell on that for too long. We should keep going.
We should.
We're professionals.
We are.
This next song that we're gonna listen to is Stage 2 Separation.
Do you mean Stage 2 Separation?
Oh yeah. You're right. Let's give it a listen. Yeah, so this song is this you talk about it in your pamphlet that is like the continuation of the journey of Tiger the cat.
Yeah.
Going off on his or her? His. Going off on his adventure through space. So, we this is the second song where there's like another callback, or one of the first songs actually that's a callback to another song in the album, very explicitly, right? Yeah. We have the takeoff, and then we have the actual adventures through space. Yeah. Right. Tell me a little about the inspiration on that, if there's more to elaborate.
I wanted. It's one of those things that I didn't know exactly what to do with it until I wrote the whole thing after the fact that I realized what I was actually writing. Okay. One of the things that I wanted to touch on with the album before I even wrote anything is write a song that is a hybrid. When it comes to technical wise, I guess, like write a song that's a hybrid or completely electronic. And it's like I think about JJ's Twin Aces film that I scored.
Whoa, shout out to JJ.
There's a song in it called 15,000 and how surprisingly people attach to that song and like listening to that beat. And I realized that, okay, I've gotten so much better now since then. I'm gonna make another one that's like kind of a banger. That's kind of my intention with it, right?
I like that.
That's how I feel going in. And so I didn't want to do what I did with Twin Aces, where it's just like kind of finding a pre-existing sound and then kind of manipulating in a way to my own and then using it. I want to make everything from scratch, like kind of making your own pasta from scratch. So cool. Everything you hear from Stage 2 Separation, I completely designed it myself.
Wow.
And all of the sound.
What does that mean exactly? Where were you gathering these elements from?
I use a synth called Vital, and it's basically a sound design plugin,
Sure,
I guess,
yeah.
and it has where you can manipulate these, the frequencies of things and how things sound, how things start and how things end, and layer sound. When it comes to synth, it's very different process than orchestra.
Sure.
It's a very different mixing process too.
Sure.
When it comes to orchestral music, honestly, out of the box, it sounds pretty good. It's pre-mixed pretty well.
Yeah.
If you have a good library, it's pre-mixed pretty well. But when it comes to synth, you're designing sound that has to stack on top of each other well to like visualize this. Orchestral music kind of is just like putting everything in a circle.
Gotcha.
Like gathering all of these instruments, and then it sounds like a complete set of thing. But when it comes to synth, it's like you're putting a sound here, which is at the bottom. You're putting another sound on top of that. You're putting another sound on top of that, on top of that, and on top of that, on top of that. It's gonna get louder and louder and louder and more distorted as you go. So you really have to be mindful of. At least that's what I learned. From this song is like you have to be really mindful when you're designing these sounds to make sure they fit.
Wow.
It's a continuation of C341. It's a very different song than that. It's like from jazz to a very electronic soundscape.
Kind of gave me Interstellar vibes. I don't know if that was it took me to space, and I think by saying Interstellar vibes, I think that you achieved it.
Then hell yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Then great. The reason why it is like kind of hybrid and electronic sounding, because it is about space and sci-fi shit. And I imagine this journey to be very beautiful, very triumphant, very kind of out of this world, literally, pretty much. So I want to capture that feeling of epic.
Sure.
And I hope people enjoy this one. And this is also one of the songs that people would text me about. That
Nice.
this is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And when people text me about these things, like when you text me, when all my friends, when JJ texted me or whatever, it fills my heart. Like it truly means like a lot when you don't have to give a fuck about me, but people are taking their time, listening to it, and then getting out of their way to text me, and that's so special, you know.
Well, you put an element of yourself out there, which is daring within itself, right? As a fellow artist, right? Like the challenge is like trying to figure out how you want to describe yourself into the world, and how do you want people to kind of view you, right? And a lot of people, including myself, like don't take that leap, that jump into that venture because they're afraid of that judgment. Whereas you did what not a lot of us can do, which is taking those chances, and you take that leap and you find out where you fall later, right? And so us reaching out is kind of like that, like us from the other side saying you did it, like, which is really cool.
Thank you.
Right? And all that to say, like, yeah, like 100%, dude. Like listening to this album, like you've inspired me. Where I'm like, I talk about how I hum and save music too, and whatever. And I've always said I would do it, but I was too afraid to do it. But listening to what you've done and how well you did it, it has inspired me, and it's like pushing me more to kind of just pursue maybe just doing that, right? I have someone that I can confide in, right, with you. And what's also nice is that we can kind of be in the same mental space, right? Where it's like, I don't really have a lot of people in my immediate zones, right? Musically, inclined. Although I take that back. There are several people, but all the same, someone who's like released their own piece of music,
right?
And so, yeah, like it's, and also not even that, like we're just proud of you, man. Like that's,
Thank you.
It's cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Why stage 2 separation? What does that mean?
It's actually you're not too far off from what it is. It's an Easter egg.
Okay.
I don't think I've told anyone yet. I think I told Parvati.
Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive. This is a new scoop.
Okay.
The reason why it is called stage 2 separation is actually a little Easter egg.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Is it Interstellar and it's like when it's like the spaceship breaks apart?
Yep.
Oh, was it right?
It's in the script.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the script of Interstellar when
Yes.
they first blasted off, and then one of the I think Tar said that.
Yeah.
Stage two separation, and then I was like, yo, let me take that. That's a great great title.
Yeah.
And because the original title I had for the song was Ass.
Why?
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It was pretty boring, and I didn't know what to name it.
Was it an acronym for something?
No,
or you were just literally projecting that this is ass, or what was the idea?
It's not interesting. It's a very not interesting title.
Yeah.
So I was looking for it, and then I was like looking at all the space movies that I like.
Yeah.
And then I go to their script, and I would just read it.
Yeah.
To see is there anything that I could use, and then I found Stage 2 separation.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that.
I don't know.
I think it's a perfect title for it. It gives homage to Interstellar, which I love.
Yeah.
And it perpetuates the story of a space journey, and it also stage 2 of a song that came before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. This is the second song that you've used your cat. What's interesting is that you personified the concept of your cat going on adventures through space.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you find yourself projecting a little bit of your personality and life goals through the whimsy of your cat?
That's a great question. This
is my Josh question. Yeah.
I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah.
I don't think I project myself onto my cat. I think all of my intention with this album and as a whole is to pay tribute to those things that I love so much.
Yeah.
I don't think I project myself onto my grandpa. I don't think I project myself onto the relationship that I have, and definitely not with my cat. And I think it's just, my way of remembering these things and make it last.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's why having a physical media, as we talked about earlier, is so important to me, because now it's real.
Yeah.
It's there, and it's going to be there for a while.
Yeah, I think that's good, man. Howard, we're on to our last course.
Our dessert.
Almost. We could kind of talk about we probably will talk about the extra bonus song,
we'll talk about it
technically this is our dessert. This is our last meals.
Last course.
Our last course.
Yeah, right.
This is Disappear. Let's give it a listen. All right, yeah. So, we started out with this piano, and for me, it kind of felt like it was very contemplative, right? And trying to, you almost kind of felt the struggle of whatever entity you want to give to the idea of what the piano is playing. As it continues to grow, more orchestration starts to come in. It almost starts to become heroic and epic and optimistic. Part of me kind of projected a little bit of the Man of Steel soundtrack on it. It had that like soul lonely individual, right, going through their life, that. Not, you know, they want to disappear, right? There's a struggle that's happening within them that is difficult. And right when we hit that heroic moment, it's almost like the Superman just, you know, shooting off into space, right? He's a hero again. Right. And not that he ever lost it. It was always within him. But it was just that recognition. Do you find that this song is reflective on your view of life? Does it sometimes feel contemplative? And do you sometimes feel confused? And then other days, do you feel like you're like a hero flying through the clouds?
Yeah, I think not necessarily when it comes to, I mean, yes, I do feel all of those emotions, but you know, I think for this one specifically, it's not as heroic as I want it to be, I guess. This is the first song that I wrote. Yeah. In the album, and I wrote it like a year and a half ago. It was a while ago. Maybe a year ago. Wow. And it was more so another flip side of what we talked about in Animotophobia, where you're scared of your emotion, where this is how what I'm hearing when I want to disappear. Yeah. Like in a way that it's tragic. And I think in a very sad way that, you know, emotions are scary and these things are scary. Life is scary. Time is scary. Sometimes I just don't want to be anymore. Here. Yeah, I don't want to. I do talk about this quite a lot. I do have a very deep like pessimism towards the world a lot of the times. You know, it's part of who I am. It makes me want. I guess it's kind of redundant to say this, but it makes me just want to kind of run away. Yeah. From those feelings. Yeah. And just not deal with it, and just, you know what, it will be, you know, sometimes you're in so much pain that you just want to like, man, I wish I don't fucking exist right now. You know? Yeah. And that's kind of what I want to encapsulate into the song. I was in a very, you know, after the death and my relationships, everything is falling apart. One night I was borderline depressed. I was like very, very down, and I just couldn't quite take it anymore. And I called my good friend Sam McIntyre, and she, you know, she's our friend. She cinematographer for our senior project. We've been really close since then, and she's still one of my closest friends. And I called her. She's, despite being a busy mom, I think it was 10 p.m. that night. I called her and be like, yo, can we meet and can we talk? And she's like, yes. So I drove to her, and then we sat in the trunk of my car, and we were catching up, and also like I'm just explaining and trying to express myself how I'm feeling with this grief thing. What is it? I don't understand it. Why is it making me feel these way? And I feel like beyond her being one of my closest friend, is that out of everyone, I feel like she would understand. She understands the most about grief. And to be able to have that present in my life, I feel very lucky. We ended up talking until maybe like 1 a.m. I think we talked for a while. It was a summer night in the trunk of my car. And then I went home, and then I sat down and I wrote this song in 2 hours. Yeah. At least the bulk of it. Yeah. And it's just kind of like my emotion putting into music. Wow. That's how I was experiencing. Yeah.
Did you ever revisit the song, or after completing it in those 2 hours, did you feel like it was where it was at?
Yeah, I definitely went back and reworked it. But what I meant by 2 hours, I meant the blueprint. I wrote the blueprint for this song. It's like, here's the foundation, and this is how I'm going to build it. Yeah. And this is how I'm going to end it. I ended with the sound of ocean again. Basically a sketch, like a first draft of it. Throughout the year, I was completing other songs. Every once in a while, I'll come back and mix it a little bit, tweak it a little bit, add another thing, whatever. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And also, this is also the song that you kind of hear when you said Man of Steel, I'm like, yeah, this is like very kind of Hans Zimmer coded. You can definitely hear a lot of that. Yeah. It is different. It is my take on it. I don't think I stole anything.
No,
But you definitely hear my initial inspiration for music,
right,
and where it kind of came from, and I feel like Disappear is that.
Yeah.
So that's this song.
Yeah, man. Again, I do find it very beautiful that like this idea of wanting to disappear in those moments, and you writing out that feeling through this song, and the kind of underlining thing that brought you back was Sam, that helped like ground you and bring you back, right? And I know you said that it doesn't feel heroic, but my interpretation was it did. It felt triumphant, that you felt so lost that you almost disappeared.
Yeah.
But something or someone was able to bring you out of that.
I think that's great, man. And I think that's also part of the story for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we get on to the next one?
Yeah, let's talk about the next one
Against
for a
the
little
Wind.
bit. Yeah.
Now, this one's not featured in the pamphlet. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, it's a cute little story I thought I wanted to include in this album and also in this podcast, just to touch on it a little bit. This song came to me when I was writing the album, and I think I was right. I think I was on a block, and I just kind of almost like losing faith in myself that I can complete the album almost. Our friend Ronan, he made a movie a couple years back, but that he never finished.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he came to me and be like, yo, I have this thing. We have the final cut. It's just not finished yet. It's like, it's not sound mix. It's not color graded. It's like nothing. It's just, we have a picture lock.
Yeah.
Can you score it? In my rut of this album, I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
And I was also not in a good place once again. And when this was happening, his movie Against the Wind is about, coming out of depression almost. And I feel like I was, because of the material and how I was feeling, aligned so much that I kind of just projected myself onto the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to this day, I don't want to be, self-indulgent or anything like that. But I feel like this is one of the most haunting melodies that I ever had to write. And it's a type of yearning that you can't get. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it has a special place. I don't think it fits in the album. That's why it's in the bonus track. And the reason why it has a Howard's version in the title is because we had a discrepancy, me and Ronan. Because I wrote the thing.
What's the T?
Yeah, it's not a T. It's not a T. I wrote the thing.
Ronan. Shout out to Sam. I didn't shout out Sam. It was a tender moment. I don't want to
shout out to Sam.
Make it jokey.
I'm hanging out with her tomorrow.
Shout out Sam.
Shout out Sam. Yeah, I wrote the draft for Against the Wind. Showed it to him. I basically intentionally went opposite of what he wanted.
Asked,
yeah. He wanted something more paddy, more ambient, more so on the non-melodic side. And then I heard him, and I wrote that. I wrote the pad. I wrote the base, the foundation of it, and I was like, man, this is not giving. This is not what I want.
Yeah.
So I added a cello line on top of that, and that became my version.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him, and then he acknowledged that, okay, you did something that I didn't ask you to do. And we had this little thing. JJ was there, and Parvati and our other friend Ben was here recording another podcast. And then we were just like, okay, let's show it to them and see which version they like.
Oh, interesting. So he was against it, like straight up, or like angrily, or like
No. We were respectfully disagreeing.
Got you.
Yeah, we were just like, this is my take on it. This is your take on it. Let's see which one is actually fits better for the movie, because it was for the movie. And, it was very respectful. There's no any personal vendetta or hate in any of the debates.
Yeah.
It was just that I want my cello to have a chance.
A personality. Yeah. Yes. Like, you were talking about how like you personified yourself into the song, a part of yourself. That cello is probably representative of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And turned out he was right. Without the cello, it worked better. for the movie.
For the movie.
He was right. And so, I gave him that version. I gave him the stem. I gave him that version. And I asked for his blessing. Can I release this song on my own term? And he said, this is yours.
That's really cool, man.
So that's why there's a Howard's version at the end of it. Yeah.
Was that, truthfully, was it really difficult for you to kind of let go of that cello for the sake of the movie? No?
I think, this is not my first film score. And I think working with a director like Derek, like JJ, like Ronan, and it's always a collaborative process, and I wouldn't want to betray anyone's vision. Artists release their own music on their own terms all the time, and they sound different, and it's okay as long as I got the blessing from him, which he gave me. So I feel very comfortable, and I feel very proud of this piece of music too. I still feel that yearning when I listen to it, and it was very cathartic. It's once I wrote that, it felt like a release, and then all of a sudden I went back to write my album. All of a sudden, it's like everything came together really well. Yeah.
That's nice, man.
Yeah.
That's nice. So far, this conversation has been really good. I've been having a lot of fun. Kind of just breaking down the songs and learning more about it. I have one thing that I noticed, right? When you kind of look at it from a thematic standpoint, I think one of the things that stood out to me was this idea of legacy or remembrance. Tell me a little bit about how you would want the legacy of this album. How should it be remembered?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't really care about legacy in a grand scheme of things. I really don't care if people listen to this. Genuinely. Like, it would be cool if all of my friends give a fuck and like give it a light of day. But in a grand scheme of things, if you don't listen to it, I don't really care. I didn't make it for anyone, really.
But yourself.
Yeah, I made it for myself, and I'm really proud that I did it, and I'm really happy about it. Is it the best work that I could do? No. And when it comes to, I guess that's my answer. When it comes to legacy, it's
You're
like,
not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it. I love that I did it, and it holds very special in my heart, and that's all that matters. And I feel like finally I can rest when this was out. When this came out in October, I was like, man, if I can finally stop thinking about this, like, because in a lot of ways, while I was working on this album, I was marinating myself in those feelings that I'm so scared of,
right?
And I was very sick of being in there, and I was just waiting for it to come out. And so it's not mine anymore, it's everyone else's. It's yours.
It's up to us at this point.
So it's like I was really happy that it's not with me anymore. And from now is just keep moving forward. I'm always learning about music. I'm always learning how to write better music and how to experiment with different compositions and stuff. And I feel like you're only as good as your last work. So if this is my last work, I wouldn't want it to be my last work. Let's just say that.
I was going to say, I doubt it.
It's only going to be better. And, hopefully, hopefully it was only getting better.
Kind of on that same mark, previously, when we first started this conversation, you talked about how you would listen to other composers and feel dead inside because it's amazing. Do you feel like with this album, you've kind of met that degree of excellence in your own work, or do you think there's more room to grow?
Oh, there's more room to grow. There's always more room to grow. Like, you still hear all the influence that I had in the album. It's still not completely mine, but I guess that's the same with every artist. Every artist came from some other places. They all take inspiration from each other. Like, you hear, a song in this album that is inspired by Japanese enka song, or inspired by Desplat, inspired by John Williams, inspired by Hans Zimmer, or or Hisaishi. You hear all these things, and they're all part of me. And I think what matters the most really is to take those inspiration and like make it your own. And that's always going to be my goal. And establishing your own voice through that. And I have this deep love for orchestral music. I love it, and I don't know how to put it in words other than writing it myself.
That's beautiful, man. I love that.
Thank you.
You ready to get into the lightning round?
Yeah, cool. I wasn't expecting a lightning round, but let's fucking
get
go.
Into it.
This is my first lightning round ever.
All right.
Let's go.
If you're stuck on an island and you only have to listen to 5 soundtracks until you're found, what would those 5 be? If it's easier, you can do 3.
Oh my god! So like the best ones, or like the best for the situation?
Whatever. You're stuck on this island. What's gonna keep you afloat?
Ratatouille.
That's 1.
Interstellar.
2.
Fuck.
Lightning round, Howard. Lightning round.
A ghost story.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's do a curveball. Luca.
Oh, okay.
And let's do Jurassic Park.
Hell yeah.
Let's do
love
those.
Yeah. Next question. If you had to choose between working on a score with Hans Zimmer or having John Williams conduct one of your movies, which would it be?
Conduct one of my movies or work with...
So you're either working with Hans Zimmer on a score, on a soundtrack. So you're both working on a movie together, but for the score, or John Williams is the composer for your movie.
Oh, fucking shit.
Only get one.
Work with Hans Zimmer.
Wow. Tell me a little bit why. A little bit.
I think I'll learn more.
Nice.
I think.
I like that.
Personally.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. If one composer could write a score for your funeral, who would it be?
Daniel Hart.
Oh, okay.
Daniel Hart.
Yeah. Okay.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Love him.
Nice. When are you releasing a jazz album?
When I understand it, when I get better at it, I don't know. It's just like, I always want to learn it.
Sure.
I don't think I can get it, to be honest. It's like, it's so complicated. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm something that I want to try and keep learning about it. I love going to jazz club and see people play the instruments.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely not out of consideration. I'll say that.
You heard it here, folks. Jazz album coming up next for the next slate.
Right.
What's next for you, man?
Fuck. Artistically, just in general.
What's next for you?
Keep going, keep moving forward. I already, you recommended me and you like introduced me to some of your friends who are also in the music realm. We haven't really connected, but
they're still there.
There's, it's something that I would definitely reach out to them and share their experiences and learn from them, hopefully. And when it comes to music, I'm already working on new stuff. I'm always working on new stuff.
Hell yeah.
Whether if it's ending up on an album, it's like, I don't know. But I'm working on stuff, and I'm, always finding ways to express myself artistically, and at least what I got out of this project. Once I released this project, even though it felt good that it's out of me, it's like, it's not, I don't have to think about it anymore. It felt empty. All of a sudden I realized that,
what do I do?
What the fuck do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, I need that creative output.
Yeah.
So that's also something that I'll learn.
I think like Tiger, this is your next step, your next journey. Yeah. All right. What is one last question for those who are interested in doing their own album? What words of wisdom do you have to say? Words of wisdom from a person who knows nothing about music. But what are your parting words of wisdom? Just write. I don't know. Just stop fucking around. Sit down. Yeah. I think, because I trust me, from one idiot to another, I don't know how to read sheet music. I don't truly know how to play any instrument. As long as you have a computer nowadays and have the will to like get what you need to do it, I don't think there's any excuse. Yeah. If you really want to pursue it, fucking just do it. Fuck it, we ball. That's what KG says. Fuck it, we ball. Fuck it, we ball. Fuck it, we ball. Fuck it, we ball. Yeah. Shout out to KG. Second time. Shout out to KG. Yeah, fuck it, we ball. Just write and sit down for 10 minutes and play around with a keyboard. I guarantee you could come up with something, even though it's just one bar or one melody that stuck to you. Yeah. Keep on pursuing. I'm gonna keep on pursuing. So if I can do it, if an idiot like me can do it, anyone can do it. If you're an idiot, I'm an idiot too. So you can do it, man. I believe in you. Thanks, man. I believe in everyone, really. Yeah. Well, I think that concludes the craft service table and picture wrap. This has been fun, man. I'm glad that we were able to do this. Of course. You're my best friend, and so being able to chat with you, being able to chat with you on something like this, something so special and near to dear to your heart, and seeing you just light up when you talk about it is really special. So
yeah, thank you for
excited
being
for
here.
the next one. Yeah, of course, man.
I really appreciate you doing this for me.
Yeah.
And I very, very grateful for you and for everyone who has supported me throughout all the shit. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to everyone.
Shout out to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye, guys. Bye. Listening to this light jazz outro that I didn't write. Or maybe I'll put on something that I did write.
That'd be
know.
cool. Yeah, do your EDM.
We're out.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Can we stop now?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Oh, that's nice. Are you okay? It's good. I'm actually in the middle of the guys. Derek just called in. I'm in the middle of recording a podcast right now using your Zoom. Are you free? Do you want to come over? We are recording podcasts. Okay, I'll hit you up. Me too. Yeah, thank you for calling. Yeah.
Hi and bye, Derek.
Yeah, thank you for calling. Jake, say hi. He said, Jake, what's up?
We're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast. Yeah. All right, I'll hit you up. Yeah, thank you for calling. Damn, that was so sweet. Yeah, I'll talk to you in a bit. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Wow, shout out to Derek.
Shout out to Derek.
Yeah.
Derek just called in. He literally just said, just check in on people. That's cute.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
what were we talking about?
Life at. Let me start again.
Yep. Oh, it's cute. I like that with the thing. Yeah, the art is really cool. Yeah, thank you for giving me the physical CD. Yeah, it was the artwork is really cute.
Yeah.
Love it.